If you've ever felt like the third wheel, this podcast is for you.
If you love Wheel of Time, this podcast is for you.
If you're bored and have nothing better to do, this podcast is for you.
Join Rob,
Megan,
And Jen,
in celebrating the Wheel of Time
and its statistically best fandom,
and ridiculous gaming skills,
and probably a few cocktails.
and find out which one of them will be the third wheel this time.
This is
three-wheeling.
Hey, I love the ASMR that was going on behind the background there, which I may leave in actually for this time, this recording.
Excellent.
It was like the cocktail shaker was going like before the music was hitting it, and it was actually really cute. Also, the last couple of weeks, so this is weird to see you again so quickly after a week, which I love, by the way.
I
Louise.
know, I love it.
I know it's not something we could probably maintain regularly, but it's nice to now and again be like a special event, weeks in a row. But I must have had an incredible morning voice when I recorded that, because I don't have like a helium squeaky voice, but also right then I was like, "Hello, welcome," and I'm like, "What the hell is going on with my voice?" So,
And I have always said I wanted to record mine because I didn't have my good mic yet.
that's true. You did say
But
that.
I'm used to it now. It's fine. I love it. It's fine.
We can re-record it again at some point. Maybe we'll change things up. So, anyway, we did episodes 1 to 3 last week, but we're back again because of episode 4. Have we both stopped crying yet?
I got teary. That was it.
Just teary. Just teary. I did. I shed a tear. I shed a tear, and I shed a tear in the exact same place the second time, and I gasped at the end. I think I gasped at the end the first time, and we can verify that because I was on Dusty watching it live
Gasped at the end.
accidentally.
What part?
Because it ended right there.
Oh.
And and the second time I had seen it and I forgot it, and I went, and then I did that. Did you send the wrong link in Borderlanders?
I think I've sent the wrong link.
I think that's probably David. Oh, he just jumped out.
And he
Hang on,
jumped
Dave.
out. 1 second. Yeah, I've sent the wrong link. Let me change that. That's hilarious.
No. No.
Yes, now that I've resent it, it's changed.
That's amazing.
That's hilarious.
I love that so much. I'm glad he didn't have his camera on when he's like, he just woke up and he's like, it's morning. Hang on.
For those who aren't aware, for the patrons who can listen live, folks, they log in via the Riverside app, because that's what we record with. And I can send an audience link, and then you can just listen to us and see our faces and enjoy. Unfortunately, the one I posted the patron channel was the guest link. So David hopped in
That's
as a fourth
amazing.
person. It was like,
Clearly, I made that happen. It was I had a foretelling because this morning when I said we're running late, and since you're up, I was like, "Do you want to join for a minute at the beginning, and give us your reaction to episode 4?" And he was like, "Oh, I'd love to, but I haven't showered, and I'm in Saturday mode." And he was like, maybe not. And I don't want to horn in on it. And I was like, no, you'd be welcome. Anyway, I think it's really funny. He ended up here anyway.
he would definitely be welcome. Yes.
And he's texting me, I'm so sorry.
Nothing to apologize for.
No, it's
That
great.
was a hilarious moment to start with. So, all right. So Meg, as expected, didn't cry. You shed a tear. Jen, when did you? What was your gasp moment?
So my gasp was at the very end because I wasn't watching the timer. It even went by faster the second time I watched it.
Right.
And I wasn't watching the timer. And in my head, between watching it, I had already watched clips of it, like pieces of it, over and over again between the 2 full watches. But between the 2 full watches, I was already like imagining him coming back and like talking to Bear and being like, "Look at my dragons," or whatever. I don't know. I imagined this whole like post scene, and then he hands Maureen to Lan, and Egwene hugs him and looks up at him, and then it goes to black, and I went because I didn't know it was done. I didn't expect it to be done in that moment, even though it was also the perfect place to end it. I mean, like in terms of filming, it was perfect. So I gasped, and I really do think I only shed an actual tear, but I did it both times. There was a second place when I got choked up the second time. I can't remember where. I'll think about it in a second. But it was when they broke Avienda Spears.
Yeah. And just the whole like talk about it. Like when they're like just going through the ceremony of it. Yeah, that was the time I got teary for sure. Yeah.
Wow.
Not for you, Rob.
No, that bit I was excited about it. I was like, "Yay, this is, good. She's, this is such a wonderful book." I
That's
didn't
all
get
she
teary up.
wanted was to be a maiden. That's all she wants. And also it's really interesting because we've heard a couple of the actors talk about like what the theme is of the season and duty being that one. And this is another example of that,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Duty and grief, and she's grieving her life as a maiden as well. I mean, duty and grief are both, I think, things that they've talked about being really relevant this season, and I think that's going to be. Anyway, I think it was beautiful. I mean, Ayula's performance was really, really beautiful, and so was Nukaka. Like her
Mhm.
when she teared up, remembering giving up the spear, and underneath what she said was, "I don't think I regret it." Like she was like, "I know my duty to my people," and it makes sense because in the and I love that it's interesting they didn't even go there when Egwene saw her in the dream. She wasn't in Cadensor, she was in Wise One's clothing. But
No, in the dream she was in Cadensor.
In the show,
yes.
Amis was. I mean, Bear.
When Egwene sees her in the waist, she's dressed as a maiden. She has spears and
Is
everything.
she?
Yeah.
Oh.
I didn't remember that she was. That's funny. Okay, good. And I love that because that's also like, I love that she dreams herself. Like she's like, well, at least in the dream, I can still have my dream. Because for her too, she didn't want to give up the spear and she didn't want to. It was a little bit like, I think I don't regret it, but maybe I regret it a little. It was really beautiful. Or I was forced into it without really necessarily, like it wasn't my choice. It wasn't my choice. That's what I have to do. Yeah.
This is true. All right. So Meg, you're all cocktailed up.
Yes. So if you guys want to come up with like, help me with the name.
That's fine. We can do that. Jen, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Oh.
Okay. What I'm gonna say is I think it's time to ask, and then we'll do it. Okay. So.
Okay. Great.
Hey Jen, are you ready?
I'm ready.
I think it's time to ask. What's Meg
drinking?
Oh no.
We'll get better at that.
So I'll start with my inspiration, and then maybe again you guys can kind of help me come up with like a smarter sounding name. So I'm trying to get this to represent Rhuidean with like the glass columns in the Tom Collins glass, and then trying to get like the fog vibes. Yep, and then I've got a little rosemary sprig to be Avendesora.
Okay.
I love that.
This is cute.
So hard. I love it so much. It's great. No, the glass columns is perfect. The sprig, works.
Well, it has rosemary simple syrup in it too. So
perfect.
I assumed the flavors would be matching. I didn't think you'd just I will do lemons and all sorts of crazy things. Well, no lemons would work. I would do.
Well, I do have lemon juice in here too, but
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Lemon and rosemary does work. But yeah, tell us.
Okay, so let me read the recipe and then I'll kind of explain. So you have to start in a shaker without ice because you got to do a dry shake because it's got egg whites in it. So it's 2 ounces of gin, 1 ounce of lemon juice. And then I did 1/4 ounce of creme de violette because that kind of helps it give like the gray color. And then 3/4 ounce of rosemary simple syrup, and then 1 ounce of egg white or just 1 egg white. You dry shake, and then you're going to strain it over. No, I'm sorry, dry shake. Then add the ice and do your wet shake to cool it. Then you're straining it over a Tom Collins glass with fresh ice. And then you top it with soda water. And when I was making the video, the soda water like totally came up and like poofed out over the top. So should I just keep it perfect. That way?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my
God.
Because it'd be like the fog exploding over the city of Rhuidean.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, like the moment when it. Yeah, that's perfect.
A happy accident then. So.
Yes, it is. Okay, well that gives us a little bit of fog. You can go without the dry ice, but if you have dry ice, you can add it.
I'm always afraid to do that because again, it's like supposed to like totally melt before you consume it, but it's just.
You can drink it. So. You can drink it. Just don't let it touch your lips. I've done it.
Yeah, just Meg's face in that.
Or put it in you could put it in like a tea strainer, like a tea ball.
Yeah,
because as long as
it won't come out and touch your face.
As long as it doesn't touch you, it's fine. Like there's no problem like consuming it while it's in there. It's just
cheers.
Cheers. So what are your potential names for this?
I don't know, Rhuidean, glass columns, the trial.
Okay.
City in the Clouds.
Ooh.
Yeah, City in the Clouds.
Yes, perfect. Because Rhuidean just sounded boring.
Yeah, so City in the Clouds. Yep, I like this.
It. Okay. Oh, yeah, it's gonna try
So no spoilers past. What book is David on?
He just started book 5.
Just started book 5. Is that Fires of Heaven? Or is that book
Yes.
6?
Yes.
Fires
Stars
of
of
Heaven.
Heaven.
Nice.
Yeah. He was really trying to finish Shadow Rising before before we got too far into the season. He was like, I want to, I was like, you're fine for the first 3 if you haven't
Easy,
finished it.
yeah.
So he finished it this week before Rhuidean. And and it was interesting because he when he read the sequence of Rhuidean like a month ago or whatever, he was like, I'm confused. He was like, he's going backwards in time through his ancestors, right? I get that, but also I'm confused. And, and I'm like, yeah, and it skips generations, so it's not like a 1-to-1. It's not like father to son to father to son or whatever. And then he watched the show and he's like, okay, it's better, but I'm still a little confused.
Well, and so I watched with Colleen, who is a non-reader.
Yeah.
And she was definitely confused. So she's like, we have to have brunch this week and we need to like
go through
debrief and
debrief.
So I have mixed feelings about it because I don't mind a television show knowing that we continue to learn more about the show and the character, that things open up like puzzle box mystery style. Like I don't mind that we don't have everything answered in this episode. And
Which Rafe kind of alluded to on his interview with Dusty. Yeah,
and I also think that if you're into season 3 as a show watcher, not book reader, you already know, you're like, okay, I know they're not going to like spoon feed me everything. They're not going to hand me everything, so I trust that the important parts will be clear.
Will come through. Yeah.
Will come through, and and if things need to be explained later, they will be. So I feel like at this point, probably most show watchers are like, I'm in it for the ride, so I don't mind not having it all answered. Like the first episode of Andor was that way for us. We were like, I don't know what's going on, and I was like, but I love it because I have a feeling they'll tell us later, and they did.
I agree.
Yeah,
I have to say the explanation from, is it Mullane, who was saying like you'll go through your blood ancestors
each
and
step
see history.
Forward is a step back through time
backwards
or something.
in time.
Yeah.
And like she gave a little sort of heads up to what
and then
you're going to experience.
It kept repeating during the scene too, which I thought was good. Yeah.
I might be wrong here because in the moment I did convolute. Oh, David's watching, so I can't say this. I mixed up Rhuidean a little bit, and I think you know why I mixed it up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
good.
Yes.
And so for some reason I thought in the books it started back and then came to current times. Yeah, it came forward. Because in my head it was just like, it goes back towards where the current character is in their own time.
Yeah.
So I obviously in the moment I mixed that up, but I was like, hey, that was a great change. I loved it anyway. Wasn't a change. I was like, well, I'll leave it in there afterwards because that's something for people to comment on, which a lot of people did, and I'm like, that's fine. I mixed things up. It's okay.
Yeah.
You totally did it on purpose to make the algorithm
to make people be like, you get this wrong, and I'm like, well, you're commenting now. That's actually a trick. I know some people do occasionally put in wrong facts about the books just to see if people will correct them in chat.
I'm not surprised.
Just because the algorithm loves it. So.
Did you guys catch the big hint Easter egg that happened at the very beginning, not beginning of the show, before they go into Rhuidean? Did you catch it? To clue you into what was happening?
The big Easter egg moment?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I just need more context.
Hold that for a hot second. What was I saying before?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I remember thinking like this helps it make more sense to people that haven't read the books by Mullane explaining so much. Because I think in the books there's not a lot of explanation. It's just like,
yes,
go for columns and walk through them. It's kind of what you're told. Like what he's going to experience is there's no, heads up, and obviously that Mullane gave a bit more of that. And to me, that was a good change to be like, hey, here's the person watching at home who has no idea what's happening in the books is now going to see this and be like, oh, so that's what that is.
Well, and I feel like because in the books, you don't know that you're going backwards until you really get towards the end of the journey, right? Or I suppose
agreed.
The beginning or whatever.
What?
So, but yeah,
Well, it took me 2 or 3 visions before I realized, oh, we're going
Maybe.
backwards through
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And they're all ancestors. It's not just random
Yeah.
moments in Aiel history.
Yeah. Yeah.
It took me 2 or 3 times to realize, oh, this is
Yeah.
actually Rand's
Yeah.
Aiel history.
Right.
David said he thought it was a lot closer, a lot clearer this time, and in part because you said of Melaine, because Melane's explanation I thought was like really, really nice.
Yeah.
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 So, what was this big
Easter egg.
Easter egg moment?
The logo.
Wait, what?
Oh, that. No, I didn't pick up. Someone actually, this came up in the comments to my reaction video.
Yes.
So
we.
yeah, you say, Jen.
Okay, so when I got like completely accidentally sucked into live watching on Dusty, I had not intended to, but my whole family went to bed and I was going to watch it by myself because I wanted to be up to speed by the time the Rafe interview was happening. Like I didn't want to wait and then miss the Rafe interview live. I wanted to see that live. So I just happened into Dusty chat right before he went live, like a minute before he went live, and Matt quick texted me. He was like, "Do you want to jump in? Do you want to watch it with us?" And I was like, "I have no setup downstairs by my TV. Give me 5 minutes to like drag all my equipment downstairs." So I watched it live, and right afterwards we rewatched it, and someone said the music sounds weird. The music when it comes over the wheel, it sounds weird. And then somebody in chat on Dusty said it's backwards. They play the music backwards. And then I said, wait a minute. Watch the wheel. Does it turn backwards? And it does. So the wheel goes counterclockwise and the music turns. I mean, they literally just reversed the normal opening.
That is.
And the music it's so fucking cool.
Well, and
it's so cool.
Like, it's not something you'd notice, but like you can really appreciate. Like that's really cool. And like the fact that they're taking the time to do that is really cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I cut it out of, because obviously I didn't know until someone commented on my reaction, but I'm pretty sure I cut that moment out of my reaction because I was just like, oh, there's something, they've changed the intro. Is that a longer intro? There was something different there. I couldn't figure out what it was.
Yes,
you know,
yes,
and then I just carried on with the episode.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then when I was editing, I was like, you know, just cut that bit out. Like, that's not really, nothing came of that. Maybe that was just me being me, you know. So the only people seeing that are my patrons who pay to get my full length unedited reaction.
I think you should tag that back in and just be like, I just want to prove. I got it.
Maybe I should actually, because I can't. It will change the video, and I can't change the video.
You could just drop just that part.
Yeah, because you'd be like, yeah, and I cut this from my original reaction, but here's me realizing there's something wrong and not realizing it's played backwards.
Yeah,
I should definitely do that.
Love it.
It took comments for me to know that. And so, literally, they were like, someone in Dusty worked this out. I was like, what a great little tidbit for us.
Just so cool and so fun and such a. I just love it. I love it. I love symbolism. I love all that fun.
Before we get too wildly into the episode, Meg, was there any big social media things you're like, we really need to talk about this? Or are you just like, there's 1,000 things everyone's posting and that's good?
No, and I'm just like way out of it.
2 articles came out today that the Real Uno posted on the Flickerverse channel of Maxim talking about queer representation in the shows and that are fun. I read one of them. I haven't read the other one yet. Not Maxim. Taylor Napier. Sorry. Maxim's interviewed.
I'm normally talking about the character and I say Taylor and then I'm like, wait, no, his name's Maxim in the show. And I interchange them and I'm sure I confuse people. So.
Yeah. I did enjoy in Rafe's interview, and it's not a social media thing exactly, but I did enjoy in Rafe's interview when he said, everybody can sing. These people can all sing. Well, not Taylor. Everybody can sing.
Yeah.
That was so good. I can vouch for this. I've not been to karaoke with anyone from the show. Let me be clear about that. But I have been out. So Sulan works in theatre, as do most of her team, because they work for a theatre company. They come from theatre backgrounds, and I went out for Sulan's birthday last year, and it was a karaoke night because that's what she loves and she wants to do that. And they're all getting up and they're just belting these songs out, and I'm like, well, I'm going to get up and sing anyway, but it ain't going to be good. You know? And I'm like, I'm the Taylor of this group with zero muscular definition to go with that. But that was
no
funny.
one has that kind of muscular definition. So.
No, he told me once at peak he goes to the gym twice a day for that. I remember him telling, because I was like, how'd you do this? He's like, it's not a lot to do in Prague once you've lived here long enough, and I just go to the gym twice a day instead. So I was like, okay, my dude.
I'd rather do anything else than go to the gym twice a day.
He's not a gym bro, but I think he enjoys the gym. Like, I feel that's one of his spaces. Bless him. Anyway, I love the meme that I saw earlier today. I posted on my Instagram. It was,
think
I
I
think
saw it.
Rafe was talking about how busy he was, and this comes from Yellow Fringe Shawl Jan yesterday.
Mhm.
She made this, and he's just like, "Oh, I'm just so busy, like work never stops for the wheel of time." And he just sort of said it as an offhanded comment, and then Janya puts together this like meme of a goose like chasing someone, being like, "Work? What? What do you mean work never ends? What work? Wheel of Time season 3 is done and out. What work are you doing for Wheel of... And this goose is like chasing someone type thing.
Mhm,
And it
mhm.
tickled me a lot. I'm like, this is what happens when you do one innocent interview,
Right.
Mhm.
Right? I was like, I know he's not. We all know he's not working on God of War anymore. So,
Yeah.
I mean, no, truly, he could be working on something else. But I was also like, oh, does that mean that they have a soft bridge and the writers are actually planning season 4?
I didn't want to
Which
put it
is
in
not
chat
a,
anywhere,
which
but
not,
I was thinking that from
yeah.
last week.
And that's not a sign of a green light because they, it's pretty cheap to keep the writers on and just like have yourself prepped so that
Yeah.
if it goes, you don't have to wait on scripts. But anyway, so it's not a guarantee of anything, but
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a step in the right direction.
yes.
This is
Yeah.
true.
I
This
think
is very true.
if that is what he's doing.
Yeah.
David, I'm outing you for your theory. When Rafe was interviewed after the first 3 drop, when he did the quick interview, and he was like, "Sorry, I can't get on camera because I'm like in this
Oh,
tiny
right,
little
yeah.
village. I'm using everybody's bandwidth in order to just get on this call." David was like, "He's location scouting," and I was like, last time they did a writer's retreat in some pretty like they went to Bali the first year, I think, and then like
That feels right.
it really is, it is useful to take your writing team and just get the fuck off the grid.
Mhm.
And so I was like, no, it could easily be a writer's retreat somewhere really remote, and then later he'll be like, guess what I was doing, and I'm fuming with jealousy.
I need to, next time I see it, I say this like I see him all the time, I really don't, people. Next time I'm lucky enough to bump into Rafe at an event somewhere, I'm going to have to be like, dude, does your writing team need like a personal chef? Because, surely you
Exactly.
need snacks while you're off
Exactly.
writing. What a terrible life. Like, oh, I've got to go on a crazy retreat somewhere,
Right.
to do writing. Like, oh my God, what a terrible job to have. Like, that's
Terrible.
indeed.
Just tell him you've got snacks.
Yeah. Like, do you need a
Writers
You
always
can,
need
be, you can
snacks.
be the writing team snack order.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, does
Exactly.
your team need a snack water?
Yeah.
Like,
A snack or water bartender.
A snack tender.
Snack tender. Megan the snack tender.
Bartender, water, tender, water. I don't know.
There's got to be a better word in there somewhere. Snack tender was fun, but it was also like, it's a little weird.
Yeah, it sounds very weird. Speaking of water, did you guys see the interview where Daniel Honey like slaps the fly?
I have not seen this interview yet, actually.
Oh my god! Okay. It was one of the first ones I saw. I don't know how it was, but it was one of the first ones I saw. So Daniel Honey's being interviewed, and then he goes, and then he says, "Water," and like he caught a fly that was like buzzing around in front of his face
He's
or something.
Mr.
and
Miyagi.
A mosquito. He's Mr. Miyagi. But it is hilarious because that has now become in my family. Like we just run around the house, and mosquito season's starting up in LA again, and I caught a mosquito and I've been catching them like crazy. Like my water, I clearly got bonded to somebody, and my skills have improved. But yeah, David and I just run around the house and like catch a bug. Water. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love
I
it.
mean, I've managed to do that myself on the odd occasion. Just be like, bam, and get a fly. And yeah, it's a good feeling when you manage that.
I have yet to do it with chopsticks, but
I've never tried it with chopsticks. That's pretty wild. So all right, back to the episode. Since there's just a wild amount of social media today. So much, not just today. Sorry, in general, like they are going nuts.
Yeah.
Just lots of behind the scenes photos and
yes, and as we get into the episode, we can talk about my favorite drop was the actual costume drops of the
Darklings.
Savannah.
Of the Darklings. No, the EF5.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean the Forsaken 5.
The Forsaken 5. Oh, that's a fun name for it. I didn't realize it was called that.
And a pregnant Megadian. Leia Costa's pregnant during shooting.
Oh,
Is she?
I'm pretty sure someone said she was.
well, I don't think Megadian is pregnant, but
Obviously not Megadian.
Okay, I mean, could you imagine Megadian pregnant? Oh boy, that would just
that would be.
Could you impregnate a 3,000-year-old Forsaken? I don't know. Is it even possible?
Well,
I mean,
we got into some
but-
somebody got into some conversation with that. Like, how does the menstrual cycle of an Aes Sedai work? Because you're only born with a certain amount of eggs. So are you reproductive age for the same amount of time as a regular person? Or does your cycle slow so that
And
you're
so you
only
only, like, you can only
releasing
get
an
pregnant once a
egg
year?
every, yeah.
That's a
I
great.
mean,
That's a great
that
theory.
is, yeah. Who knows? That's
Yeah.
quite a question. I'm a middle-aged white guy. I am not going to comment on how a woman's body works. So.
Well, these aren't
But I do-
real anyway. In that sense.
I know they're not real, but still, like, I'm not going to
I-
go and comment on that.
I do think in the books. Oh, this is a literal immediate spoiler for David. Never mind. We'll save menstrual cycles for another day. Anyway, we have lots to talk about. We have lots to talk about.
Okay, so yeah, episode 4, Road to Spear, as we know, written by Rafe Judkins, directed by Thomas Napper, currently rated 9.5 on IMDb.
Yes.
And why does IMDb matter, folks? As I found out the other day, it's because Amazon owns IMDb. That's
Mhm.
why
Oh, really?
that is what it's rated.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what they
Oh.
care how it's rated on IMDb.
Okay, I'll need to go do that.
Yeah, it's absolutely killing it. It's the first Wheel of Time episode to get in the 9s.
Nice.
And it is killing, and I love it. I mean, obviously, I've been I'm so aware as a deep book reader how meaningful it is, and I was really hyping it up before David and Zach watched it with me last night. I was like, "It's the best one ever! It's the best episode!" And then I was like, "Oh, stop overselling it until they
I know.
see
I
it,"
did the
you
same
know?
thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but they both loved it. And it was, here's what was really fun for me was Zach had the same thing as Colleen. Zach was like, "Okay, explain to me this, and then when this guy, and then who's this guy, and then like when he goes back, and what did they happen?" And I was like, "Oh, this is like I've been waiting 15 years. I had a child just so I could like eventually sit down and tell them all the deep lore of Wheel of
For
Time."
those of you just listening, Jen is rubbing her hands together like an evil villain.
Yes.
My plan. It was my plan.
I think just to assist you with that image, here's some ASMR because I didn't do it for some reason
Oh,
when Meg was
excellent.
doing cocktail. They've got Rocky Road back in stock, now, so for
Yay.
my staffies. So that is my Rocky Road cracked for the episode.
Love it. Love it.
This podcast is brought to you by not Brewdog.
That's
No, it's I don't know. This episode was just. I want to start off with. I want to talk about Lan and Avienda fighting.
It was
Mhm.
so fun.
They were laughing when they were
Yes.
fighting,
Yes.
even though she was pissed at him at the beginning, being like, "Dude, put your sword away."
Yeah.
Right.
You know.
Oh, it was so delicious. And so before we saw the episode and we saw just that clip, like I had seen that clip before the episode
Oh,
dropped,
I
and
hadn't. I'd stayed away from everything.
I meant to stay away and I couldn't help myself. So I saw it and I thought, oh, this is such shade because we know he's been practicing with Rand and it's such shade
Mhm.
against Rand because like he actually gets to spar with somebody who can hold their own, which I thought
Mm.
was hilarious. And then I missed it the first watch, but the second watch, he actually says to Rand, "Okay, if you're gonna try, I'll actually try this time." So
Yeah.
it was for sure shade to Rand.
Yeah.
It was like
Yeah.
this is what sparring is supposed to be, and it was such a dance. It was
Mhm.
it was like here's someone who's my equal, and like I have to find them and match their moves.
And he was so fast.
He was so
Yeah.
fast, and he was so
Yeah.
joyous. They were both so joyous, and I feel like the actors were joyous
Mm-hmm.
having choreographed the scene as well. And oh, it was. I'd like to say it's my favorite part of this whole episode, but I don't know that I can say that. But
It would
but it
be
was really
for
great.
me. It would normally be my favorite part of an episode had it
Yeah.
not been in this episode.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yes. Yeah,
You
yeah.
which is saying something. But
Yeah.
yeah, they were dancing and the laughter between the two of them. Because like Avienda's serious at first,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and he's just like, "All right, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this."
Mhm.
And then like after the first sort of bit of sparring is done, and they sort of step back from each other for a moment, he laughs.
Yeah.
And then they get
Mhm.
going again, and then she's chuckling, and I'm
She
like,
chuckles,
"Oh,
and
I'm
And I love
dying."
everybody yelling, "Whoo, whoo, whoo," like to call
Yeah.
everybody to come watch. And then
Yeah.
Ruark like stepping out of the tent with like intent, but then being like, "Oh yeah, I'm here for it. Like I'm here to watch it." Like he starts to come out like ready to be pissed, and then he's like, "Oh, this is gonna be good."
Yeah. He probably thought she was fighting Rand, and then just being like, "Oh,
Yeah.
stop trying to kick his ass," you know? Like,
Stop trying to poke the wetlander.
Yes.
Exactly. Leave the Wetlanders alone. David just put in text. I love that scene too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure Mom did as well.
Yeah.
It was so good. And also, here's what was great. So I had watched the scene ahead of time. The scene cut off sort of abruptly. And I was like, why are you cutting it right there? Did I miss it? Did I not see the whole thing? Why did you cut it? They cut it because you don't know that Bear and Melaine show up and cut it off, which was also so wonderful for me because I had seen it and I was loving it. And then I was like, oh my God. I was like, why are they just like telling him to stop being babies and stop being childish? And then I was like, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. And then that's when I started crying.
Well, and then, and I kind of assumed that this was what it was. So it was at the end of 302 when everybody comes up, when all of the Aiel, all of the Tardad come up on everyone. And Avienda's like, did you tell somebody? Blah, blah, blah. And she was like so upset. It's because she's trying to run from getting called to be a Wise One apprentice. So
You're so right.
I think she was going to try to like lead him there and then try to like sneak off again. But then she like totally ended up getting like trapped. Because she knows. So
really good call. That's a really good point. Yeah, she was just like,
yeah.
Who told on me? Who told on me?
Yes.
I'm not pissed at you. I'm pissed because they're gonna get me. You know. Like...
And then I'm fine. I'm kind of calling her Bear now, but she's still a Mies as far as I'm concerned.
Bermise. Just say Bermise.
She's a Mies. So Bear Mies, a Mies. But I cannot get enough of Melaine. Melaine.
I love her. She's my favorite by far.
So good. She's so good. And also, like, we have like another Sister Strongjaw this season. Yeah, but she's amazing, and she's amazing. I'm getting so much.
Was she a maiden before? I can't remember.
Melaine?
Yeah.
I don't believe so for some reason.
Okay. I don't know, and I don't have my companion. I just took it back downstairs.
I mean, not that it necessarily would mean the same thing in the show, but I was trying to remember.
And it's nice to hear that from a Mies.
Yeah. I mean, do you know what? But I kind of, when she turned up and she's like, okay, no, you have to go, like, learn to be a wise one, all that sort of stuff. And, give me your spears and such. I was like, okay, like, this is all going how I didn't know this moment was going to be now, but when the moment came, this is how I expected the moment to go.
Yeah.
For me, when she takes all 3 spears and breaks them over her knee in one go, I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Because those spears are built to take a punishment.
The Aiel are
snap
not
them like
screwing
twigs.
around.
Yeah.
No.
Hard as bricks.
We also need to talk about Savannah and Couladine.
Savannah, oh my God, I am in love with Savannah already. I love the headpiece. I love everything about her.
Me
it's just like...
too. And when she opened her mouth and spoke, I was like,
She's
voice.
amazing. Can we,
Oh my
David,
God.
you might want to step away for a second because I have a theory. David, are you stepped away?
Okay,
I mean,
he will.
how are we going to know? He can't tell us.
I'll text him. I'll text him when I come back.
Okay.
Okay.
He says bye.
So, okay. So my theory, I'm wondering, I think, and somebody kind of had this and then I like took it like another way, that like maybe she's Asmodean hiding in plain sight. No, but hear me out. Nope. Wait, stop. Hear me out. I think they might want like a trans character. So like Halima.
Okay.
Like, so I'm wondering if they're kind of merging the whole Halima idea where channeling Saidin in a female body. So it's like Asmodean / Halima. Or I guess Arangar. But
I'm going to just let your theory sit.
There's my loony theory.
Yeah,
we'll just see how that goes.
Yeah, I was like, what? Yeah, I don't know.
And I'm not saying that for sure. It's just something that popped in my head.
It's fun.
So
it's fun. I like it. Look, I had a loony theory last week. You can have this loony theory this week.
Yeah, there we go. That can be your loony theory.
See,
also,
how good I'm at accepting this.
You're the better sister. It's okay.
I had fun last week posting in the server, being like, "Hey, what did Jen say in this moment?" And everyone's just like, "A lot of Bond's Perrin."
Yeah.
Nobody gets it. It's like Bane dies, and then she bonds Chiad. Just like,
and then when they listened to it, they were like, "She's off her rocker," just like Matt said.
Yep.
It was great. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
No, I'm still Asmodean is the guy in the hat in the Tenchika first look photos, and I think Savannah.
Why would he be there though?
Because I don't know, like
There is no
I just-
reason for Asmodean to be in Tanchico. Asmodean needs to be in the waste because his whole point is to teach Rand and put the dragons on
I
Couladine.
still don't think we're gonna get Asmodean.
Oh, that's
We're
fine.
definitely getting Asmodean. They've been alluding to someone teaching Rand. It is Asmodean.
I'm on the Asmodean train. Like isn't he's going to be our 8th Forsaken. I don't know. I just think it's unexpected to see him in Tenchico instead of in the Waste of Rand, and I think Savannah is Grendel.
Yeah, I mean that's possible too. But.
Lots of people think Savannah's
Okay,
Grendel
what
too
was
now.
your
Yeah.
epiphany just now, Jen?
And can David come back yet?
I told him he could come back. I don't know if he
Okay,
is
so-
back. Is he back yet?
I don't know. We'll find out in a moment.
No, I don't. Yeah. Okay, I just switched over to the Asmo train. I'm off the Demon Dread train and I'm on the Asmo train.
Really?
Because Demandrin is combined with Samael.
No,
I
well,
think.
sort of. Yeah,
Anyway.
kind of. I mean, they serve certain things, and and then I'm not going to say the rest of my theory in case David's back. I don't know if he's back. I better check.
Amazing. We might have to do a segment at the end of being like, and welcome to the non-David section
Yeah.
of the podcast.
I'll save it for a minute and see. But in any case, okay, all right. See, because I love the Forsaken holding a frickin' guitar. Like I'm like
Yeah.
all along, we've all been like, that's Asmo, that's Asmo, that's Asmo, and he does serve some purposes, and the training part of it is like I'm and I mean, so David did just read that he got captured because he just finished Shadow Rising, and so he knows that Asmo's been captured with the intention of teaching him. And also Rafe said something recently about, and David's already heard this, I think, but Rafe said something recently about one of his, like he and his mom having loved the who killed JR, cliffhanger
Right,
at the
yeah.
book, the who, so there's that aspect as well. Okay, I'm on the Asmo
All
train.
right.
Boot, boot.
I like
That was
I like
easy.
Asmo and Tenchiko because it's different and will catch us off guard. And I like the idea of Savannah being Grendel. It gives Savannah more purpose throughout and there's also a train just going along the bottom of Jen's photo right now, folks, for those who are just listening and haven't chosen to watch us live, which is hilarious. Yeah, I just like the idea of Savannah just fucking with shit and like not being revealed. Like we don't get a Grendel reveal
Yeah.
this season.
And that would surprise
Yeah.
us. Well, I mean, except for those of
I
us
mean,
that
it
are
might
thinking
not
that,
surprise
but
us now.
Anyway.
It
Yeah.
might be like when Uno reappeared in episode 208 and we were just like, yes, we knew it, but also we're not fucking happy about it. Yeah. So, all right. I mean, it was a really good beginning to the episode.
It was great, and I was last night trying to find the wheel running backwards to show Zach and David afterwards. I was like rewinding, and I was like, where is it? Because that's all cold
Yeah.
open.
I know. And that was when I messaged you guys and I was like, oh, I'm kind of
Yeah.
on the Rob train where this does not feel like a cold open.
Thank you. There's a certain point where you're like, wait, that was the cold. How I've been watching for hours. What's going on? You know?
Right.
Right? What is the cold open of? When's the Nynaeve cold open? The long Nynaeve going through the arches.
Oh, that's like
cold
what?
open?
That was
Was that 3?
that was 203. Yeah.
I was trying to see if it matched up with season 2 or season 1, because we've had some of the other cold opens
This
have
is true.
matched in terms of like Age of Legends is always
Yeah.
episode 8. Episode 7 is Rand's birth time
Yes.
ish, or whatever. So
Oh, I have
You
a
know.
question. So Couladine asked permission to enter Rhuidean and they said no, correct?
No,
no,
they
he
were
didn't
like,
ask.
He
if
didn't ask.
Nuruddin doesn't come back, then Couladine will go. And they're
Okay.
like, have you asked? You can ask
Yeah.
if you want.
Right.
I'm not going to say
Gotcha.
yes, but
Yeah, because I was like, it wouldn't make sense for him to ask if Muradin was still
Yeah.
in there. So
Right. They just said once he gets back, then you
Yeah.
can ask.
or
Right.
once the appropriate
Um,
amount of time has passed for him not to return.
right.
But
Mhm.
because is it 10 days? 10 days
I
sounds
think.
right,
I think so,
which is, for those who don't know, a week.
Is 10 days a week in
Yeah.
Wheel of Time?
yes.
10 days is a week.
Because they said he's been gone for a week, right, Rand? Isn't that
No,
at
they
the
said
end?
they said
7
7
days.
days.
7 days. Oh, okay. So they said 7
said
days.
7
I
days.
turned that into a week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is because that's our week, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But I also was wondering if they're even gonna like try to broach the 7 days, 10 days in the series because it's confusing.
Yeah.
I don't think it makes any difference. And I also think that her saying they've been gone 7 days and then him coming in the dawn the next morning was like the last minute.
Right.
You know, I do feel like them returning at the last minute was part of it. I don't want to go to the end of I'm already like now my head's at the end of the episode with him coming out. I'm going to wait.
Heading off to not Rhuidean, the moment where Melaine just spills her guts and be like, if you didn't ask to do this, if you didn't do that, you know, if Adeline didn't come with you, like,
And Bear's like,
and yeah, she's like, shut your trap, girl, you know, like, it's like, it's. I mean, I could probably get the book and read that exact scene.
I almost wonder if that was Taviran pulling it out of her almost in some weird way.
Oh, Rand's Taviran?
Or something. I don't know. But
here's what to me it reads as, and I love this. It's so subtle. Like it's just me reading into it. But we know that, okay, like being a wise one's apprentice, like Avienda's about to, you know, Avienda has just been called, you know, like called to do this. And so that we know that like being an apprentice is hard work. And Melaine has an air about her of like, of a young Aes Sedai who just got her shawl. You know, she's like, I'm the shit. I'm so cool. Blah, 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 blah. Like, look how wise I am. I speak in these very wise ways. And I'm, you know, and then she's like, oh, by the way, blah, 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 blah. So to me, it's just like a really lovely moment of like a newly raised Aes Sedai or a newly raised wise one who hasn't quite learned how to keep her trap shut yet.
How old do we think Bear Meese is? Because she calls Maureen child.
I feel like it wouldn't be unreasonable to put Bemis in triple figures.
That's what I would have thought too, because she's very
getting
strong.
towards it anyway.
Or is Rhuarc her second? Like what I mean, like when did she meet Rhuarc? Because if she's triple digits and she was a Tardad and she wasn't a maiden, like that means she watched Rhuarc grow up as a child, as a toddler. And that's a little
Rhuarc's
creepy.
Super hot. Like, I mean,
yeah, but if you know he's hot when he's 15 or 14.
It's not like...
No, but he's a grown-ass man
It's not
now,
like
so.
he was, you know, the babysitted, you know, it's like she babysat him as a kid type thing. There's hundreds and thousands of people in, you know, in these clans and such. Like, she might have bumped into him and did not meet him until he was an adult. But I don't know, like, I didn't, you know, I was just like, whatever, like,
All right. Well, I got her calling her child was just once again like you aren't trained in our ways, and wise ones call people child the same way that Aes Sedai call trainees children.
But I think she would definitely be triple digits for sure.
All right.
She's definitely in the upper echelon of double digits, I would say.
Yeah.
Do we know I'm thinking of book lore, but was she a maiden when Tigraine came?
I don't know. Let me get my companion and dig out about Amis.
See, you have yours handy. I, like a jerk, just took mine downstairs, and now I'm like, Rah. Is it Bear or is it Amis? Because if it's Amis, like, you know, we hear she has silver hair, so she looks like she should be old, but she has the ageless-ish face, because they hadn't quite worked out.
Too.
She channels, but we know that the ageless face is based on being bonded, or being...
Careful.
I know, it's fine. It doesn't, I'm not spoiling anything. He doesn't care about that. It's a metaphysics thing.
Amis was originally Thardaris Mai, first wife of Rhuarc.
First, yeah.
Well, no, first wife just means
before
your wife.
Amis was the mother of some of Rhuarc's children. She was also sister mother to Avienda. Sharp blue eyes and prematurely white.
Sister mother is aunt, correct?
Yes, that sounds right. Prematurely white hair. Her hair had been very light blonde when she was young, but turned white when she was in her early 30s. She's about 5'8", could channel, dreamwalker. Nothing about age other than that. Let's go to Bear.
Bear is old, but she doesn't channel, so she's not in triple digits, I would say.
That would be wildly impressive if she was in the triple digits.
Especially considering the harsh conditions.
So, Wise One of the Hydo Sept of the Sharad Aiel, Dreamwalker, but could not channel. Eldest Wise One of the Sharad. In her late 90s or more, she had a creased grandmotherly face, white hair, and pale blue eyes. Bear spoke with a reedy but strong voice. She was a bony woman with angular shoulders. Bear outlived 3 husbands, while Amis and Melaine were the best at interpreting dream. Bear was better at manipulating ter'angreal. And I won't read the rest because it's going to spoil stuff for David. So I would say she is prematurely grey and also in her 90s.
Yeah, I mean, because they're combining bear and Amis, which again, I'm really okay with that. I just wish they'd called her Amis and given her bears
Yeah, they could have changed it.
qualities.
Like after they decided not to get Annamise and gone with Bear,
and
you know,
no one's used her name yet.
yeah.
No one's used
She
her name
could
yet.
still
I'm like,
be a Mies.
I'm like, y'all can still change it. Come on, Rave. Just
Post production.
Yes, all
Put
they
it
have to do is
over.
change
Do
it
some
in the
ADR,
credits. It's so easy. They changed Ingtar.
Right.
He was in Ingtar in first IMDb, I think, and then it changed. Anyway, all I'm saying is just make her a Mies and give her Bear's job at the end. That's all I want.
There we go.
That's it. That's all. Bear has one job, and give it to a Mies.
Careful. Watch it.
I love Bear. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying. I'm not saying what it is.
I love how super
has one job.
sensitive you are to spoilers, Meg. It's brilliant.
I know, Megan. You're really sweet. Take care of David. Thank you.
Someone's got to make sure it doesn't get spoiled. Like, may as well be. Meg can do it.
But I love her. I love her and Melaine. I love that scene.
Melaine kills me. Melaine is my favorite. Melaine and Savannah are my two favorites.
I'm also obsessed with Savannah's freckles.
I know, they're so beautiful.
Gorgeous. She's so beautiful. She's so beautiful. I love her jewelry. I love the headdress. I love the way when she opened her mouth and spoke. I was like, holy crap, I can't. What is that voice?
Yeah.
She's like the new show, right?
I just know we're all going to hate her, when she does things, but like love her as well. And she's creepy. She's like, married the son of her now dead husband.
Oh, I know. She's like,
and if Rhuidean isn't coming out, I'm banging this brother instead. Like, you can just what is up with this woman? Why do I like this? Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, straight up trophy wife gold digger for sure. Like,
oh yeah,
yeah.
The housewives of the threefold land
of the Shido.
Of the Shido. She's amazing. She's amazing. I can't wait to see more of
the
her.
real Shido housewives.
Yeah, Shadow Housewives, the real Shadow Housewives.
Yeah.
I also love when Baramis channels. And I love the looks of like Egwene and Moraine looking at each other. Egwene, Moraine, Elaine, come on. Egwene and Moraine looking at each other. And I love that she channels the bare minimal. And also I love that Rhuarc has his knife out and he's ready to take him out. And she's like, I'm faster than you, bro.
Shit, okay, she got it.
Which no blood should be spilled this close to Rhuidean.
No, but nobody's going to touch his wife or whomever. Yeah. I mean, Rhuarc is ready to do whatever. But I love that she just goes, bam, and that's the end of it. And then she like puts it away. Like Aes Sedai are like, let me show you how big my weaves are and how many I can do. And she's just like a minimalist. I love that. I think that's a really nice distinction between how we've seen Aes Sedai channel.
And that's book accurate.
Yeah. It is.
I love the sending off before they go through the spears as well.
When they pull the veils over their eyes.
Yeah,
so
like
they can't see.
They're speaking in unison as they go off, and the cinematography. Well, I don't know whether it was just film. Maybe you do?
It's not film. Jen. I did find out.
No, I know that. But Jen, when you film like whatever they're filming, like a scene, do you have to change how you film something for it to look good in slow-mo, or does footage that's been filmed in regular speed automatically be able to be slowed down, still look good?
With digital, it's you have more control.
Okay.
So when it was film, whichever film you're particularly using will look different at different speeds. And the type of lenses you're using and how you're using them and how open they are. So there are issues if you're actually shooting on film. With digital, you can manipulate it. So they can be free.
So they could have just filmed that at regular speed, and then the editor's gone, I feel we should slow this down, and be like, yeah, okay, let's try it out. And, oh yeah, that looks good, let's do it.
But then for certain things, you have to really think of it like that. That's what the Bolt camera does, is obviously allows you to like really get into the weeds of like super, like going fast to slow. So there still are cameras that can do things better, but yeah.
But with the regular setup,
the whole
you can
thing
still
is
do
just
it.
beautiful.
Like,
it's so gorgeous.
The whole episode is just insane.
Yeah.
For how gorgeous it is.
And it's so part of why I wanted to ask Rafe, and Matt asked him this in the interview, part of why I wanted to ask about the decision to go to the 2.3
anamorphic wide lens. Yeah.
It's not really anamorphic because it's not.
Oh, okay.
That's I mean, people are calling it that, but that's specific again to a film camera, because it's the way that you turn the film in the camera. But if you the choice to go wider and to go to 2.35:1 rather than 16:9, which is a normal current TV screen size, which David's show is shot in wide 2.3:1 as well. Like the show that David's shooting that he's creating for Nickelodeon is done that way, which in cartoons is like almost unheard of as well. Wow. Certainly in a TV show. And it's such a beautiful format. But one of my favorite things to watch in 70 millimeter format, because it's the same format as 70 millimeter, is Lawrence of Arabia. And knowing we were going to be going to the Isle Waste this season and getting those kind of Lawrence of Arabia style vistas, I was like, oh, did they decide to do it because of this season? And what Rafe said was, no, we wanted to do it seasons 1 and 2, but Amazon was like, people don't watch widescreen. We're not doing it. And he convinced them by this season that it was worth it to do it.
Which also leads to, I feel like, more evidence towards season 4 being greenlit because Amazon and the executives are trusting him more.
Yeah, but I also thought I literally had that exact thought, Meg, and then I thought, or they were like, fuck it, we don't care, we're going to cancel it anyway. Do whatever the fuck you want.
Wow, you are so pessimistic.
Honey, I work in this industry. It is not pessimism. It is just the reality of my day-to-day is like, you just never know.
Yeah,
You just
that's.
never know. I mean,
It could be that way. They could have been like, you know what? We don't know if we're going to renew the season or not.
yeah.
So
who cares?
just go hammer and tong as long as you're not like destroying budgets.
Yeah.
Do what you fucking like.
And it doesn't change anything for the budget. Their concern was watchability.
Right.
You know, when they said they didn't do that in seasons 1 and 2, they were like watchability. And it's like, you know, if you go see a movie that's like been shot for IMAX or for widescreen, and when you're watching it in IMAX, it'll actually would fill your TV screen. It changes it back to 16:9, but you're like it's brighter. But I always prefer it. I'd rather have the black bars and get to see what's on the outside of it and shoot for that really, you know, if you're watching House of Cards, not necessarily. If you're watching something like Wheel of Time with these kinds of vistas, yes.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. The imagery is just
Mm-hmm.
wild this season.
Yeah.
It's absolutely
Yeah.
stunning.
Yeah.
I don't know, just everything about it looks incredible. Like when they start going through the visions and you see Rhuidean like with no fog, and then it just like pops out from the middle like firework, or like someone's just not fireworks, but like someone's let off trebuchets and
Like
things
a
like
smoke
that.
bomb.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
like it's just like a cluster bomb of smoke going everywhere.
Yeah.
And just I was like, that is so cool. Like I just
Also, Latra? She
Oh,
got
yeah.
some power.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, she was using.
Oh, she used the
She was
Sarkana.
using the Sarkana.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, how old was she though?
So I've been trying
I
to
was
figure
trying
out.
to think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been trying to like David and I were walking through the whole thing last night, and I was like, the only relationship that we have a specific time frame for or a specific connection for is Arden.
Arden? I don't know.
The one who's the
I-
the grandfather during the Hobbit scene, and he's the
It
grand.
totally was the Hobbit
They're
scene.
the
I love
Hobbits.
them so much.
It's
hands-on
so
hobbits.
funny. Actually, someone said to me, I remember I was talking about the moment when Ayla comes up with a rabbit. I'm like, oh, it's a brace of conies. It just makes me think of,
Yes.
Samwise Gamgee in that.
Me
I think
too.
I think it's Kate who works now at What Series, but also helps the Everyday Negroes YouTube channel. Like, sorry guys, I forget the names now. Addison and
Addison and Brandon.
Brandon. Thank you. Helps them out as well. And
I
she
watch
was-
them a lot.
Yeah, that's fair. They're great guys. I'm terrible for watching
Yeah.
anything really. But she messaged me when I was talking about it. She's like, there's another like, Lord of the Rings moment type thing. And I was like, oh, tell me. And she's like, it's a spoiler. And then that's when I realized that she didn't mean in that episode. She meant in future episodes. So obviously the Hobbits
Yes.
moment here is what she meant.
But it's so the only relationship that we know directly is going from the Hobbits, the grandfather in the Hobbits, who says like, what will be will be, all will be well, all will be well, the T.S. Eliot quote, all will be well. And then he is the grandson in the next one. So
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out. Yeah.
but time-wise, I was like, I think Latra lived 700 or 800, 900 years, I think.
I would assume that she was probably a very strong channeler. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
she was
seems
one of
like-
the leaders. So if
I
she
know, but we
wasn't-
don't know how old she was in the Age of Legends.
True.
Yeah, it was just kind
Right.
Of where I was trying
And
to
she was
figure out, yeah.
probably pretty old by the time she became Tamerlane or whatever she is in this version. But
Right.
yeah, I know. But she's old. She's old and still very strong.
Yeah.
Clearly, it doesn't diminish with time.
I feel like they did a really good job casting the older actor. I feel like she did really look like what the other actor would age to.
Yeah.
Also, she's wearing the same
I
clothes.
thought.
I'm like, you haven't changed your clothes in 800 years.
I mean,
And they're
that's got to be
pristine
just
white.
that's got to be just a visual choice to help.
Of course, it made perfect sense. She's got the
Along with the
same
necklace,
stones.
with the
stones,
five.
which I think are an ter'angreal.
Yeah, because Colleen was like, why do I feel like I know her? And I was like, oh, and then I had to explain who she was. And she was like, is it the same actor? I'm like, no. And she's like, is it the same clothes? I was like, I think so.
Yeah.
So that helped, I think.
Yeah.
Although
make
she
it
didn't wear that
Oh.
necklace in 108.
No.
So,
I think it's a ter'angreal of some sort.
I mean, very possible.
Oh, actually, no. It has 7 colors on it, doesn't it?
No, it has 5.
Oh, it's 5 colors.
Yeah.
When is at the beginning of? Is that the beginning of the Asha? Yeah, but is that the beginning of the Ashas? Because at this point now that it's just women. Interesting. I have to look at I'll have to look at a picture.
I would say that was just for the 5 powers. I don't think that would be for Ushers. But
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
it could be.
Wait, she was great. That was great. That was really fun.
Mhm.
But old. Yeah. So I was like, okay, because here's what threw me. Because when we went to Janduin, and I was
Right.
like, okay, cool. Obviously, this is 20 years ago, right? So
Easy
we went to
connection
Janduin
to make
first,
for viewers to really show the blood ancestry thing.
right? And it was one generation.
Which I like that they did that. I thought that was a good choice.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought it was great. I thought it was a great choice.
Yeah.
And it was also really beautiful to see that. And it also, like, it allowed Rand to meet his father in
Yeah,
a way,
in a way.
which I really loved. And to
Yeah.
meet his mother. It was beautiful.
And we got repeats of some of the moves used, which was really cool to
Mhm.
see.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was just.
I just wanted to turn around and be like, see Tam walking away.
Yeah.
But,
With the baby.
No, with the baby. Got a baby.
Got
But
it. She
but
yeeted him.
also-
I took him. So done. You know.
Yep. She eated it. But I love that. But then then the next one is Mandine.
Mandine.
Mandane.
Correct.
And
So that's the start of Rhuidean. And
it's the start of Rhuidean, but for some reason I had Mandane as Janduin's father in my head, which is
Which it
absolutely not
couldn't be.
possible.
No,
No,
not
of
possible.
course not. Of course not.
Yeah.
But I had that in my head from the book, which also I don't think makes sense.
Mhm.
But I had that in my head from the book, and so then I was like, oh, the Isle have only been coming. I was like watching it thinking they've only been coming to Rhuidean for one generation. There's only like 7 where'd all those damn
Yeah.
spears come from? People suck. So
Right.
anyway, that took me a minute. So I think that was a jump back of probably
it's probably
1,000
gotta be-
years.
No, I'd say probably more than that. Because, so let's just say, for instance, at the bare minimum, Latra in the Age of Legends was maybe 200 years old. I would say
Okay.
she's probably older, but let's just say 200 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So that would have had to have been 600 years after that point.
Mm-hmm.
Ish. So let's just say at most like 1,000 years from the Age of Legends. So then that would make this 2,000 years back from present day.
Yeah, which is a really long time.
A really long time, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was like, wait, if she's this close to present day, how do we not have traveling?
Rhuidean, an unfinished closed city begun by the Gena'il and the Aes Sedai after the breaking, in the valley of the same name, east of the Jagai Pass and beneath that word Chandiar. How did I say it in the show again?
Yeah,
Chanda?
Chendar.
Chander.
I always think of Ter'angreal when they say it, so they're like, Chendar.
Chandar, yes. So, Agreeman said he visited Avendesora and rested beneath it some 2,000 years previously. Thus, he had
Oh.
visited Rhuidean during the Trolloc Wars. It doesn't say about like the time of when it was formed, but it's at least been around 2,000 years.
Avendesora was very in the Mandine flashback. Avendesora was about the same size it is now-ish, right?
Yeah, but
Okay, so yeah.
But also, if Latra had shown up, or if the Gen remembered the song, or if Someshta showed up, like, I mean, the idea that they finally planted the sapling and then it grew like crazy, I can buy that too.
Yeah, that could work,
Like,
yeah.
You know, I
Maybe
can
go
buy
to
that
the
they.
Gena'il, maybe it'll give us
I
some
feel like it would have
information
had to have been there for a while. I think they were probably I mean, they had to build the city.
Well,
so
that's true.
I would imagine they get there, they plant
Plant it.
Avendesora, they start building the city around it,
Mhm.
and then this is like the final step, creating the fog, creating the glass columns.
Yeah, but the
all of
assumption
that.
also has to be that there weren't that many Gena'il. Like she says the last of the Gen have died. So now Clancy's they're essentially the Gen are the only. No. She says the last of the Gen have. Yeah, I'm not. Oh my God, Megan! I'm literally saying what she said in the show. The last of the Gen have
I'm
died.
saying something
I'm not
else.
gonna say that.
I'm not. I'm just thinking something else.
Okay, all right.
Do
He's
you know
not.
what I'm
I don't think
thinking
he's.
of?
Yes, starts with an N.
Okay. Yes.
It
I
does
know.
not give, again, looking under Jen Aiel, does not really give a timeline, or it does say that they were going to die out before finishing building of the city.
Yes. But also, David was like, that can't be built by Aiel. Like, what? Look at how big that stuff is. Like, and clearly the Aes Sedai had to be heavily involved, and maybe even the Ogier.
Mm-hmm.
Do we think that the Ogier were there?
I could see the Ogier being part of
And
it.
if the Ogier were there, they were singing to that tree.
In terms of the show,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
like obviously
Yeah.
they were in the books. I've just read that, but
Yeah.
in terms of the show, I could definitely still see that being a thing.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right, Meg. They planted it. Then they started building the city, which would have still taken like
Mhm.
several hundred years. So,
Right.
you know,
So it had time to grow. Yeah.
yeah. And it probably wasn't as big as it is in present day. I don't
No,
think.
I'm sure it wasn't, but
Yeah.
it seemed like a very full grown tree, was all I was saying.
Yeah.
And they're not carrying around a full grown tree
No,
Right.
they are not.
But you're
with
right.
them on the wagons.
You're right.
Yeah.
That jump back was way back. That was a way back jump.
Significant.
So we went
Which she
one.
did talk about how some jumps will be millennia, others
Mhm.
will be generations or something.
Yeah. Which also I thought was great that she kind of set that up, that they're
Yeah.
not going to see every single ancestor between here and
it's
the
not
drilling
linear.
of the bore.
Oh yeah, that would take just
Yeah.
forever.
No wonder
So-
he was in there.
Oh,
weeks.
which we got to talk about that. Oh my God. The
The
drilling,
drilling of the bore.
Oh
And the
yeah,
shroom.
we'll get there.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
So yeah, so we had Janduin, which was awesome. Mandine. Let's just talk about the creation of the glass columns, or let's just talk about the glass columns in general.
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
Please.
I mean, pillars of light, just trees made of ice, or I don't know. Like there are so many ways you describe it. They were just flawless, but I did not expect to actually see the formation of them. You
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah,
the way
that's really
Latra
cool.
channeled like 1,200 beams of light just crawled over his shoulders like shoulder pads. Seriously, the show has a thing for
Mhm.
shoulders, and I'm okay with it. More than okay with it.
Mhm.
And then like yeah, she just like these pillars just explode out of the
Yeah.
ground, and the oath
Yeah.
breakers
Yeah.
comment from her like, "This is why we call you oath breakers," and I'm just like, "Holy crap! What is like this?
Right?
Yeah, this moment is insane."
It's amazing, and it also again speaks to both the power of the well, certainly of the Sarkhanen, because she's using the Sarkhanen, but also Latra's power and Latra's what's in her head. Like again, like this is probably the last moment of Age of Legends channeling, you know, because she gonna die right after this, I'm sure. Like she's
Mhm.
like, I'm tired, I'm laying down, and so you know, this is the last piece of channeling that happens with Age of Legends knowledge.
You
Oh,
know.
do you know what I kind of wish that had maybe I need to go look through frame by frame to see if it's there. I wonder if potentially after she channeled that, she's like, right, I'm just going to lay down like you just said and give, you know, like that's it, I'm done.
Like lay
And
down underneath the chora tree.
Lay down underneath the
Mhm.
Trora tree and like just pass away peacefully. And I wonder if somewhere around the roots of the tree is that necklace. Can you imagine if that had been there still?
Yes. Oh my God.
Because the skeleton
Missed
would have,
opportunity if it's
The
not.
skeleton would be gone.
the skeleton
But
would have been
the
gone after
necklace, yeah.
you know thousands of
Yeah.
years out in the open, even in that fog city. Like,
Or I'm
yeah.
going to go back and watch every shot of that and see if Maureen walked past it.
Can you
know.
imagine if there was just like a little hint of a necklace somewhere in the roots? You'd just be like,
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
my god.
Can we just talk about Maureen the kleptomaniac?
Yeah.
What? Just like, oh, I'm gonna randomly steal shit out of a tree that belongs to someone
Oh,
else?
This looks
And then I'm going to go in a
interesting. Pick a
ter'angreal
pocket.
with a ter'angreal because that sounds like a real good idea.
With a sarangreal?
Ter'angreal.
Ter'angreal. I'm sorry. That's
No, it
my
just-
Midwestern.
It was fun.
Ter'angreal.
Sarangreal. I love it.
Both David and Zach are like, what? Like they're like, what is happening with all the Angreal things and what are they and what I mean? I'm like, okay.
Just meant like the A tier and the S tier for the power, and the T tier because it does tings, not power.
Oh, I like
right,
that.
it does things.
Yeah,
does things.
it does tings. Yeah,
It does things. I
it
love
does
that.
things.
And
Yeah.
S is strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that
yeah,
was it. Like you have because you have like the A, B, C, you know. But then when we
Yeah.
rank things, there's for some reason an S tier.
Yeah, I understand.
So
yeah,
Angreal and Sir Angreal, and then to Angreal because they do tings.
I like it. Okay, so that was Mandine. So then we have Lewin, the
Yes.
Hobbit.
Sorry, one last thing,
So-
Mandine. I love
Yeah.
his
Oh, sure,
spear.
yeah.
I absolutely adore that
Oh, it
fucking
was
spear so
pretty,
much. And like being the first spear, and it was like the moment of like, and this came up on Threefold Talk actually,
Mhm.
of being like, you know, this spear is now my husband type thing because his wife took
Yeah.
the spear, and I was just like, also her outfit was just so fucking cool.
It was amazing.
I she was great. She was phenomenal.
She was
But I'm
phenomenal.
so sad that she's in like a flashback scene because now we won't see her in the show.
I
I'm
know.
like,
Yeah.
she was a great actress. you know, she looks just insanely like she was born in that outfit type comfort.
Well, and didn't
Yeah.
Rafe say she was originally cast as the maiden that was going to be the first maiden?
Yeah, she
Yes.
was cast as the
And then
first
they ended
maiden.
up cutting it.
and they
yeah.
cut that scene, yeah.
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 But like,
And I, honestly, I don't mind. I know people are really up in arms about it, and I know threefold talkies are like, I mean, I know people are like, that's such an important scene. But in this series, we are making it. It's still cool that they're women warriors, but we're also making it less gender driven, where a society of women warriors is so crazy, like it's so
less
out
of an
there.
outlier.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
less of an
Yeah.
outlier, and so to be honest, it makes them less like like what, women with weapons, and I'm fine with
Right.
that. Like I'm fine with that not
I
being
get that,
such a
yeah.
huge deal. And I also think that this episode, there's a lot about Moraine in this episode, but this to me is the transition episode of Moraine stepping back and Rand becoming main character
yes.
in a really real way. And so to make a part of Rand's history storyline be about the evolution of the maidens, it just diminishes his story. I think it was
get
a
that.
really smart choice. And as a woman who wants to be a maiden of the spear and who loves this whole aspect of it, like you would think I would feel robbed, and I don't. I think it was a really smart choice, and I'm really okay with it. And I'm sorry he's getting hate for it. He's getting hate for it. and it's
Yeah,
too bad.
I don't. Yeah, some people. I mean, there was random hate moments about the Moraine flashes and being like you're lesophobic and stuff. I was like,
Yes.
hold up, the dude recreated scenes from the fucking books. Okay, like
Yes.
chill.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
meant to be weird like that. To me, and again, no, I'm not. Like you say, I'm not a woman sitting here being like I want to be Aiel, I want to be maiden type thing. But when Mandine like gives the spear to his wife, what is her name? I feel really bad. I can't remember her name now. Do we remember her name?
I don't think they said it.
know.
Did they not say it?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
then
don't.
that
I'm
makes me
not
feel
sure he
better
said
if
it.
they didn't.
Shade
say
of my
it.
heart. It was her name.
Shade of my heart, yes. Which is so great to hear from not just Roark, but to hear it from someone else as well. But like when she took the spirits, like defend our hold with our sons and daughter, or son and daughters,
Mhm.
whatever combination it was of children. And she like took the spear and then like just drove it into like that kind of felt like you're still gonna
Yes.
go. It still felt like that
Yes.
moment anyway. It just wasn't
Yeah.
explicitly said. I kind of hope in a small way that he left the spear behind when he came out, because that spear is so cool. I wanted
Oh,
to
really?
be part of
Right.
that
we
like the
would see it
first
there
spear
someday.
that I just see it there when Rand came back out and we don't. And I
Mhm.
was like,
Yeah.
And then someone pointed out to me like, well, it wouldn't still be there because he survived.
Yes.
Because
Right.
if he
Yes.
hadn't survived, Rand wouldn't have been. He
Well,
wouldn't have been
I mean,
one of
it would
Rand's
depend on
ancestors.
whether or not they had kids before.
But that's it.
he
Like
went
he
in
had,
or not.
before he went
Right.
in, it was like at least
Yeah.
a son and daughters, or sons and
that's
daughter.
true.
Right.
So like his line continued.
Yeah,
So it
we
is
don't
possible
know.
that
Maybe
he didn't come. Maybe he
That's
didn't come
possible.
back out. And
And he
one of his
also
sons
said,
went in.
"I am not an oath breaker."
Mm.
He
yeah, I had a feeling. I got the vibes that he didn't come out.
He might not have. And on second watch, I was like, maybe it's the Shido who doesn't come out, or maybe it was the Shido who said, "I'm not an oath breaker," but it wasn't. It was
No.
Mandine. So maybe he didn't come
Mhm.
out because he could not live with that.
And then one of his sons went in place because like, his wife was
Yeah,
like, "We have
I
to
like
go.
that.
We have to." Yeah.
I actually
Because
like
and
that.
he did agree. He's like, "I will take your test. I'm not an oathbreaker." So he did agree, which is
Mhm.
what
Right.
Yeah.
the wise ones and that said. Like we were told, like if you don't agree and like follow it, then you don't.
Yeah.
And so it absolutely could have been a case of like, well, if they don't come back out, you have to send someone else. So
Yeah.
she could have like sent another person.
But
to
the
be,
clan survived
the
because
clan
they showed up.
survived because he showed up
Right.
and took the test. Yeah. So
Do we know how many men were in there? How many
uh,
clans did we see?
I feel like 5 or 6 is appropriate. 1 second,
Okay.
let me look.
Because
I'm getting
I've been
8. I got 8 in my brain for some reason. I
No,
Well,
don't-
I've been saying,
not
like,
everything's
again,
8.
I know, but I've been saying everything's 8 because there are 13 clans. There's 12 clans, and the 13th is the Gen.
Yes.
So to me, I'm like, maybe there were 7 and the 8th is the Gen, but
Mhm.
and we don't know. I mean, other clans I suppose could have popped up, but basically she was
6.
like, "You'll die out." There were 6.
It was 6.
6. I've got the scene in front of me here. Latra's there's 6 with Mandine being like kind of front and center in front, and as we look at the screen, it's obviously the opposite for him, but 2 on the left of him and 3 on the right of him,
Mm-hmm.
and then Latra's at the very front, so only 6.
Oh,
So
good.
maybe
So
that's
good.
why there's 7 seats, because there's 6. Because it would be
6
no,
plus
it's
the
good.
Gen.
It would be 6 plus the Gen plus the, because David's listening.
Megan's like, "What?"
Uh,
I don't think he's listening. We can probably just say it. He won't remember it anyway.
Megan, think
6
six clans that we see in the Latrocine,
Mhm.
plus the Gen makes
Plus
7.
the Gen.
Makes
Seven.
7. Okay, and then
Mhm.
we to think about the Eye of History and who they're connected to, and that would be the 8th. But
Oh,
there's no seat
The
for them because of
Tinkers?
yeah. There we go.
yeah,
We've
yeah,
said
yeah.
it now.
No,
Yeah,
but that was
Oh.
established. That's established. That's okay.
that's established.
Yeah.
But yeah, if they were the,
I
if they
would
were
think
the
it was
7th clan.
established in this.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, in Lewin's, which we're about to head to.
Okay,
Lewin's
Yeah.
flashback. They are the
Not
branch
Lewin's.
that came
It's the next
off.
one. No,
No.
it's the one behind
No.
Lewin.
it's the one before Lewin.
Yeah.
No,
After Lewin,
but
sorry.
Lewin, I think, is
Lewin
No.
is when we form
Mm-mm.
the Aiel that fight.
The fighting
Because
Aiel.
I knew he
And the
was going
Gen.
to
no
like.
agreed.
Oh.
But Lewin's
David just put in chat, I'm listening, but you're right, I won't remember. But no, this is something you already know anyway, David. Yes.
no, but Lewin.
Oh, of course, he's read the books. Yeah,
Group
yeah.
are
Yeah, yeah.
really the Tuatha-An, aren't they? They
No,
don't have any
no.
artifacts anymore.
No, they do. There are no
They
artifacts.
do have artifacts?
There's no artifacts in the book, in the show. The
Yeah, they just
only
don't-
artifact
Well,
in the show is
no.
the Sarkinen.
Yeah.
The only
and
artifact
the
in the
Chora
show.
tree.
And the Chora
Do
trees.
they have that in Lewin's flashback?
Lewin's leaning up against the Chora tree that has the Sarkinen
He's
in
hugging
it.
it.
Oh
He's
yeah,
high.
you're right.
And
He's
he's
high off the
high.
Chora
He's
trees,
hugging
yeah.
it.
That's right.
Yeah. No, see, this was okay. So last night when okay, let's talk about Lewin moving into the next one, which is the split with the Tuathan. So when David and I were talking about it last night, I was like, I'm glad that they didn't just send them with a bunch of ter'angreal randomly. And then they've got to drag the ter'angreal around forever. And then I like that we're just like focusing on the Sarkinen and the ter'angreal being the thing that they're protecting and hiding at Rhuidean. I like that. And I can buy that. And I think it makes that more interesting and more central to the story, which it is going to be. So I do think that was a nice choice. But then when the Tinkers split off, here's what was a little confusing for me. And I think confusing because and I think this is even why you're confused, Meg, because Lewin's group still feel like Tinkers. And they don't have they don't have all the artifacts, but they didn't have artifacts.
They even have the Tinker accent.
Yeah, they do.
like-
they do. But that makes
like,
sense. They just
Yosha
split.
sounds very much like Aram.
Yeah, but they
like
just
his-
split a
yeah.
generation ago because you
No,
have
I just find it very
yeah.
interesting that they did that. Is all
yeah.
I'm saying.
I thought that was
So,
really
yeah.
cool.
Mhm.
But when they split off, they don't take wagons. So like the idea that that's the Tinkers who are leaving and going to be traveling people, like in the books, to me, the what really establishes that is them throwing all the ter'angreal out of the wagons
Yeah.
and saying
And then
these
taking
wagons
the
are our home now,
wagons, Yeah.
and we're not going to drag the stuff around and look for some safe place. There is no safe place. We need to keep traveling.
moving. Right.
And
Mhm.
I felt like that was the line that was missing in that scene because Adon or Arden, the grandfather in the next scene. Or no, the son Jonai with Arden as the grandson
Yes. Mhm.
are the only two that are left. So I'm like, who's gonna make the babies?
I
Like
actually said that in my reaction. I was like, I'm assuming he meets up with other wagons in this case then? Because
exactly.
like
And I'm assuming he must meet up with other wagons but other wagons probably have Chora trees, and then the fact that the tinker side that leaves don't take wagons with them. Like I wanted them to be like to literally just like take the tree out and leave him with the tree and take the wagons and be like, these wagons are our homes now. Like we just need
Mhm.
we need and he's like dragging the tree behind him, and we assume they're going to meet up with somebody else. But or he like fashions a wagon for the tree or something. But like to me that was just confusing and harder to know that they weren't the Tinkers, because then the scene that we had just seen previously, they sure felt like Tinkers, Meg, because the accent
Mhm.
and the way they were behaving and the clothing. So I wish that had been a little bit clearer. I felt like that was
Yeah.
the one that
Mhm.
yeah, and when you break it down like that, it does actually
Yeah.
like it's not confusing for me because I recognize the moments of what we were seeing.
right.
You know, with Lewin, this is the moment where some of them become they choose to pursue violence to protect the others. With Jonai's scene, this is like when some of them split off and be like, "That's it, we're not going to follow what the Aes Sedai wanted
Right.
anymore. We're going to go," and they're going to often be the Tinkers. But that, like you say, when you actually break it down, it's not.
Yep.
They don't walk off like the Tinkers and leave Jonai with a carriage.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Well, here's another thing too, though, that I feel like the show. Okay, so maybe I'm walking it back a little bit. I wish it had been clearer, but in the books, we really hear about the disdain of the Aiel for the Tinkers. They call them the lost ones. They're
Yes.
the worst possible
well,
people on the
does
planet.
that in
She does, but she's
Ep303. Yeah.
yeah, she does, but it's very small, and we haven't like in the
Mhm.
books. You've spent a lot of time with the Aiel, and you hear more of it, and so you really get this like we think they're the worst possible people. And they basically say anybody who follows the way of the leaf is an idiot and stupid. And so to me, in the flashbacks and the books, that break with the Tinkers was almost as much to like as Oathbreaker. Like to me, that was like, we used to be Tinkers. Like, oh my God, that's the worst. And like, that was one of the things that I think it would be hardest for them to understand and take. But they kind of leaned in the show, they leaned more into the you broke your oath.
Yeah.
Your
Which
oath
I
was that you
think
would
has
keep
more
keep
to
the way
do
of
with
the
G.E.
leaf.
Toe. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they have lost honor because they broke their oath.
Yeah. So in
So
a
they
sense,
have
I'm
lost
like,
G.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
And they now have toe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm a little more willing to be like, okay, the Tinker split was important, but it didn't need to be as highlighted as I'm thinking in my head it was needed to be.
Yeah, I
It's
For
just
those
really
of you
about the
just
oath
listening,
breaking.
Jen and I are wearing G and toe shirts.
yes, they have
So,
G and
in
toe shirts.
honor.
Yes. So I do agree with like the wagon choices though. I feel
Yeah.
like more people should have gone off with Jonai. Not
Mhm.
more people, but like at least some people should like it couldn't just
So
Jonai
we
and his
didn't feel like
grandson.
it was like the line was going to die out
Yeah,
immediately.
that did give you vibes. Like I literally said in the moment, I'm like, well, I hope he's gonna bump into other Aiel then, because otherwise, like, you know, his
Yeah. And
grandson
and in the next
ain't
scene,
gonna date nobody like and have kids. Like he needs to, he needs
Yeah.
to meet
Right.
people and
and in the next
Yeah.
scene we see his grandson as an old man with a whole bunch of people around them.
yes,
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is. I agree. That was a little like I wanted to see a break in the people of like we're gonna stay, not just the
Like
grandson
splitting in
staying.
half.
yeah, or
Yeah.
even just
Yeah.
like you know 70-20, 70-30 or something like that.
Right.
You know, like
Yeah, even
the
if it was just a
major-
few that stayed.
yeah,
Mhm.
just a few. That was a connection there. But oof, I talk about the first act of violence. Just go to Lubin's section for a moment. First act of violence, you know, where you swing a spear and slice someone's face off.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
ooh,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
graphic. And
Yes.
and the Rand, Matt, and Perrin analogy between the
It-
three boys.
Was so lovely and never occurred to me when I was reading the books. Like he goes with two friends, right? In the
Yeah.
books. Yeah, that's like those are the same two friends he takes with him. But I loved the choice in the casting and making them Rand, Matt, and Perrin. I
Yeah.
was just like, it warmed me in my heart.
Because the one who looked like Matt sounded Irish.
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
know, and
And the Perrin one sounded like Perrin.
and the Perrin one sounded like Perrin. You know, and it was just like,
Yeah.
it did concern me that the you know. No,
The
it
Perrin
didn't.
one
Well,
died.
the Perrin one died. There was a small concern for that, but actually, what really hit me later on rewatches was the analogy between the one representing Perrin, I suppose, at least in our heads, was the one who struggled with violence,
Yes.
and then
Who was like, we can't do violence.
and then died as a result. You know,
Yeah.
and I was just like, "Ooh, is this like
Yeah.
a subtle intertwining of Perrin's
It
journey
was
with
lovely.
violence?" Yeah,
It was great. It was great. There were so many layers in so
Mhm.
many places of this episode. And I, as a writer who loves layers and who loves layers that people will probably never see or recognize or know that are there, but
Right.
I put them in for me. It was great.
yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Les, going back to Melane's moment and Bear, when Bear's talking about like knowing too much about the future and it like basically screwing things up for you, I was
Yes.
like,
Mhm.
Elida, you need to meet this woman and pay attention to this statement.
Mm-hmm.
Relying
Well, I
on
was
too much,
thinking-
you know.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Yes. And I was actually thinking Anakin Skywalker needed to, or and the old Jedi needed to be like, y'all don't know what you're listening to when you think you know the prophecies and you think you're trying to get in there.
Very, very true.
Right.
Yes. So,
Yes.
all right. So we have two now. We have Roderick, which
And
is
Charn.
and Chan. So Roderick obviously is
Roderick is the next one.
Roderick,
Which,
yeah.
this was my I don't know. This might have been my favorite one
I loved it.
for some reason.
Mandine is my favorite.
Roderick might have been my favorite because that was like some seriously hot Yosha.
I was just gonna say the same thing.
I can definitely see why the guy. Yeah.
I was like, oh my god!
Yes.
Like,
And I loved
don't
his
know
I
why.
loved his Skechers. They weren't Skechers, but I loved his like super modern shoes. I loved that his shoes were like modern and smart and thoughtful, and that like, and he was far enough removed from, and we don't know how many generations it is, but far enough
Mhm.
removed from Charn that
Mhm.
like that Charn still had his farm boy, you know, his harvest boy charm.
And optimism and all
Yeah,
that,
and
yeah.
optimism,
Mhm.
and then Jonai being like
You mean
sleek.
Roderick?
I'm sorry,
no.
Roderick. Right, yeah, Roderick.
Yeah.
Yep. Roderick being sleek and modern and clean
efficient
and
almost.
efficient.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like a soldier in every sense, but violence. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I got like,
Yeah.
and I know they're not servants, but I got like master servant vibes.
Yeah.
Where he
Mhm.
was like
Yeah.
the one in charge of every. I mean, obviously he must have been because he got the Sakanan. But like
Right.
you know, he was clearly like the leader of the Daishan Aiel. So
So do you think he was Latra's
yeah,
Jen?
I think he was
Yeah.
Latra's
Yeah.
Jen.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Which is also really cool.
very very cool.
But also awful that Jen are like slaves. But anyway.
Yeah.
But it's not
Well,
slavery. Like they can just
no.
they choose. You know.
They freely choose. They aren't
Yeah, like in
conscripted.
the books, it's
you
they're
know.
not conscripted. In the books, it's like, are you going to serve or are you going to go live your own life and do something else? And like some
Yeah.
of them, most
Yeah.
of them, you know, if you grow up in that culture, most of you be like, well, I'll serve. But you know, some
And
would be
it's
like,
honor.
no,
It's
actually,
honor and obligation again. It's
Yeah.
the same kind of
Right.
thing of like
Mhm.
it's not unlike what Bear says at the beginning when she's like, "I know my duty and I'm doing it." This is again another example of duty as a theme.
yeah. So why the guy Shiner, you know, or guy Shun is or something like that. I think they say in the show is,
Yeah.
you know, because it's like, you know, I have been touched in battle
Mm-hmm.
without being harmed, and that
Right.
you know gets me the greatest obligation, the greatest toe. So to meet that,
Right.
I will be Gaishen for a year and a day. You
Mhm.
know, which is I you know similar to being, you know, the Jen
Jen.
for
Yeah.
for you
Which
know,
again,
Latra's time.
going back to Moline and Bear, like I love she doesn't explain that they won't touch a weapon during that time, which I do think is important because part of it is like the Aiel can't believe that they all used to be Gaishan.
Mhm.
But I also fucking loved Maureen being like, "You're very free with your words about shit we don't give a fuck about."
I
I was like,
And then Bear's just like,
serious shade.
and Bear's
Yeah.
like, well, what do you want to know about? Like
it was
maybe,
great.
yeah,
It
like,
was so great. And it also
So
felt
I
like a
have-
little bit of a throwdown to like, if you're watching the show, you also don't give a shit about Gaishan right now.
Right,
If you don't know the
right.
books, like, let's get
Yeah.
to the good stuff. It was really
Yeah.
funny
Yeah.
and fucking great.
Oh god, I
I
just
love
hope someone out there was watching and did a reaction and be like, yeah, and you're telling me exposition I don't care about right now. Tell me the good shit about this episode, you know?
Right.
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 Yeah. I know, it was so good.
God, but yeah, the
So my question about this flashback was, so Roderick was gay, right?
it looked that way.
Yeah. So how did he have children?
Yes. And are they just yeah.
Well, I mean, look, I think as the show has established, there's a real fluidity to sexuality, and so the idea that, well, first of all, that he might lose that lover along the way because we know that they were about to go into a like very rough time, and potentially
Well,
then
you could see
Which
the
I
beginning
love
of that
seeing
scene.
crazy
Yeah.
breaking of the world
Yeah,
behind
you could see the
them. Yeah.
breaking going on
Yeah.
behind and
Yeah.
such. Yeah, so it's not like
so
you
he's
know, it's
bisexual
okay.
and he meets a woman later and they have children. I mean, like,
Mhm.
someone else
Okay.
who is on the same path as him. But I
Do you know I said that someone commented somewhere, and they were just like, "How'd the dude have kids, like you know, and eventually leading to Rand if he's gay?" And I was like, "Well, you know, maybe he meets a woman later on. You know, maybe he's part of a polycule. Who knows?"
Yeah.
And then someone commented, and they were just like, "Well, it's not exactly good writing if you know your audience have to, what was the phrase they used? Basically, have to make stuff up to defend your decisions or like defend what you've put on screen or in whatever it is." And I was just like, we got a tiny snippet. Like we didn't get the entire
Right.
thing.
And like
yeah.
I feel like that's too with the show, and that's kind of why I brought it up, because I wanted to make sure like we addressed it. But the show just doesn't make a big deal about sexuality.
Yeah.
Like it's just
Even just reading these articles by Taylor,
Right.
the Taylor interviews this morning, when he was just talking about we need more bisexuality shown on screen, the representation. But I also like, I think that the show just hasn't said, if you are with a man now, you might not be with a woman later. Like they're just sort of like,
Yeah.
it's kind of,
Yeah.
and also like the breaking of the world is happening, and maybe he decides to have children because they're like, we need to keep people alive.
Yeah.
Like
right.
the population's going down. And so, even if it's not a preference for him, he may see that his duty is to keep the Jen alive.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's horrible
you know.
that gay men feel the need to like get married and what's the phrase, like a beard? Is that the phrase for a woman who marries a gay man to pretend that he's straight? Is that the right? Yeah.
right.
Like
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
there are
Yeah.
gay men out there who feel that, and they have children. In fact, I worked many years ago in New Zealand with a guy who had only just decided to tell the world he was gay, and was getting a divorce and had a 12-year-old daughter. You know, so
Yeah.
I did understand slightly the like, well, it's weird writing if your audience has to like figure shit out to defend for you. I get the place they were trying to come from. It didn't come across in a nice way. But also,
Right.
like, we're getting such a tiny snippet of this world right here, and this world is so anything goes that it doesn't
Right.
it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Well, here's
It doesn't
here's
really
me.
matter, yeah.
I am the logic queen of everything I watch, and it makes it hard sometimes to be a fan of something because I'm as a writer, I'm logicking everything. Didn't even occur to me.
There
Didn't
we
even
go.
think about it. And it wasn't like I was like, how's he going to have kids? I was just like, okay, this is another example of someone who is sleeping with a man at this point in his life and who is clearly his soulmate and whom he loves.
Yeah.
And you know, we know how many people we're going to lose out there. And here's actually what I thought too.
10,000
This is-
wagons.
Yeah, we know
10,000 wagons.
10,000
And at one
wagons.
point we end up with, you know, Jonai and his kid or his
Right.
grandson. You know, like
But here's also how much. Okay, but sorry, this is ridiculous because the man he was with was darker skinned, and here's what I thought, which was interesting because like the Aiel are like we know that his generation is going to lead us to Rand, who is very fair skinned, and I was literally like, I wonder if their kids are going to present more white than black. That was what I thought, just
Oh,
in
wow.
terms
I love
of like
that. That's wonderful.
because he was with him. I
Yeah.
didn't think about the fact that the two of them were not going to procreate.
Literally cannot procreate.
Yes,
Yeah.
that part did not even occur to me. Apparently, I
that's-
was caught up more
As
in
the biologist.
That's-
That's
I know.
hilarious.
That's actually good writing because, like, you're
I just
like,
didn't
this
think
is a
about it.
world where it's like, who cares who's with
Yeah.
who, and you know, or how many people
Exactly.
are with how many people or anything like that. The case
Yeah.
was just like these two
Yeah.
are in love. You know,
Yes,
what, and one's black and one's white. What are their kids gonna look like? You know,
I was just like, that was sort of where my brain went
Yeah.
instead of the fact that they couldn't have kids together. Also, things were very technologically interesting. Maybe they could. Who knows what
that's
kind
true.
of
Is this going to be an Arnold Schwarzenegger Jr. type of
Yes.
situation?
Yes,
I mean,
it
that's a
is.
great movie.
Oh my god,
I do love that movie.
I do too. It's very fun.
Yeah, it's such a good movie.
Yeah, but I didn't even think about the fact that they weren't going to have kids. But you know,
No,
they
I
weren't
think
gonna
I
have
remember thinking at the time, and I'm just like, there's like 10,000 wagons. You know,
Yeah.
shit's gonna
Yeah.
go down for them at
Yeah.
some point. We already know already. At some point, it's like a guy and his grandson, and that's it.
kids.
Like
He had to find somebody somewhere.
they had to find people. You know, I'm just
Clearly.
like, who knows? Like, and who
Yeah.
cares? Really, it doesn't matter. Like, clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly, it did work out because we got to Rand, you know.
Yes.
So clearly,
Yes.
it worked. But yeah, I was just like, doesn't matter, you know. Like, who cares? The wagon was an interesting choice. I like the outside of the wagon, the inside looking like, you know, what's that? That's the tinfoil that looks like it's been stitched in hexagons or diagonals or whatever it bloody is.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
an isn't that like a cooler liner or something stupid like that? I can't remember what it's called.
Somebody asked if Mandine's spear that had cool writing on it might have been a leftover piece of metal from the wagons. Someone somewhere online said that. I'm sorry, I don't
Because it does
I
look
don't
somewhat
mean to
advanced. Yeah.
not
Mhm.
give credit where credit's due. I'm just not sure where I read it. But we didn't see those necessarily like that. The wagon, that kind of detail on the wagon, and it's a long ways down the road, so I'm not sure I'll go with that, but maybe.
Possible.
I thought it was fun to see them so modern though.
Let's just round it out because I know we don't have forever. We have Charn, which
Sweet Charn.
Sweet
Sweet
Charn,
Charn.
insane connection that at some point Rand's ancestor was Jen to Lanfear,
Mm-hmm.
or Mirren as she was
Yep.
then.
Yeah.
Which
Yep.
was just wild. They were like besties.
Well, we did know that in the book. Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, you know,
I mean-
for people watching to be like, oh my god, you're like disconnected all the way back. It's wild.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
do think this is where I think some of the confusion came because we're like, is it Mirren? It's Mirren. She is Lanfear. She's the person who's going to become Lanfear. We know she was lovers with Luce Theron. Is that Luce Theron? Like I've had like
Mm.
Zach was like,
Oh,
he's not
really?
Luce Theron, right? Like that we know that's not Luce Theron.
Yeah.
Is it weird? Like how does that work? And I was like, who you are reincarnated as has nothing to do with who you are related to, who your ancestors
Right.
are.
Yeah.
And so the idea that the person who you are reincarnated as was alive when your ancestors were alive, it makes a lot of sense. you know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But it is, I think it was a little confusing for people. And David kept saying like, is she Lanfear? Is she actually Lanfear? And I'm like, yeah, that's actually Mirren.
Well,
That's
she's
the
not
same.
Lanfear.
She's
but
not
yeah.
Lanfear. She's not
Lanfear yet.
Lanfear
That's
yet.
explained
Right,
in
yeah.
the Roderick scene.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
super cute. And we got the song, which was really sweet. It was like a work shanty.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to say, the showing of the boar, I think, was fucking
Ugh.
spectacular.
Yes.
It was. Yeah.
And I also didn't know
and
until somebody pointed out that the Sharome was like where they were looking out the window.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because they're looking down on everything. Yeah.
I didn't. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
oh, bless you. Sorry, Becky, you were going to say something just before.
Oh, no, just I loved how the boar looked.
Yes.
Really like a rip in space-time. You know what I mean? Like, it was just really fascinating.
And had a technological feel
Yeah.
to it.
Yes.
Like
Mhm.
the alien
Like
sound
digital,
of
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it felt like, the dark one was staring out through it or something. So
Yeah. I loved it so
Yeah.
much. And I loved, as much as I was calling her a whore bitch, whatever, last episode.
Yeah.
It was interesting seeing Mirren be sciencey Mirren.
Oh yeah,
you
gotta,
know?
I mean, as
Yeah.
you know, as somebody in the fandom have said, gotta love a woman in STEM. But I still liked that we caught glimpses of not evil Landveer. I don't think she was evil. I don't think she was
Ambition.
evil, and I don't think ambition is bad. So I want to like be clear
Right.
that I'm not suggesting an ambitious woman, but we did get a sign of her jealousy, and her, when she said, yeah,
when
'cause
she talked
when she talks about the true
Theron, yeah.
power,
Mhm.
and she says it shouldn't just be available to Luz Theron and his friends, kind of is the way she says it. Now, she is one of those people who can channel, but it's still like, it's her say, because she says to Rand multiple times in the books, and she says it, I think, in the show, like, Luz Theron was a more ambitious version of you, or a more sure of himself and cocky or whatever.
Yeah.
And so there is an aspect of like elitism that she's saying is awful, but but she's like, I'm going to show it to him that he doesn't get to have the power of everything.
Like, her
I'm gonna give it to everybody.
intentions aren't necessarily pure.
They're not completely pure. And
Right.
whether that's about the three names, and again, I don't have a problem with a woman with ambition, but her intentions aren't completely pure. They are a little bit based in, I'm going to show it to him.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it to Luz Theron.
This is true.
Also, I have to ask Pravar about this, and I haven't yet. I'm pretty sure that the word she speaks, the word she says when she says true power, is Said. And I need to go back and check it, and I don't know if we already have an old tongue translation of true power. But she says Saidin, Saidar, Said. And I love that. I really like that. I like that we now have a word for the true power that's akin to Saidin and Saidar.
Well, as I pointed out, someone because someone commented on my reaction video and be like, it feels like, are these like old tongue scenes from the books? It feels like they've made up some old tongue scenes for the show. And I commented, I'd be like, oh no, they're writing the language. They have like a language expert and a linguistic expert, and and people like that are literally taking what RJ put on the page, in the glossary, in the companions, all that sort of stuff, and constructing a real language out of it. And they were like, oh my god, that's absolutely amazing. The dedication of the show is unbound. It's amazing.
It is.
It is. Yeah. And I keep forgetting that we watched those two scenes in fully in Old Tongue.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I'm because I'm just 100% in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, she didn't say that. Oh, she didn't use words. She didn't words I know. She didn't use real words.
Yeah.
She used old.
It's like we just didn't notice. So.
Yeah. Oh, but Latra speaks in common tongue when she's at the tree.
Yes.
No. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, in Mandine's vision.
In Mandine's, yes. By then, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you were talking about in Roderick's.
Yeah. So she knows 2 languages back then.
Clearly.
Yeah.
She can handle that. Yeah, she's smart enough for that.
Well, and interesting that the language would change in 600 years,
But with the amount of people lost,
Yeah, the amount of people lost, and we also don't know if there weren't other languages around at the time of Old Tongue. Like, Old Tongue was spoken by the elite. It was spoken by, like, by Aes Sedai.
It could be, like the version of,
Jen,
what is it, like Latin and something,
Yeah, there could have been, like, pidgin languages that were spoken by the Jen, and, there's Ogier out there. There's all kinds of people out there speaking Ogier speak Old Tongue, whatever. But,
And then the way they wrap it up with the dragons, the way the dragons form. Very cool.
Yeah.
And when Avienda sees Rand, when she wakes up,
yes,
we know what she saw.
Yeah, and she's
yeah.
just freaked out seeing 2 dragons on his arms as well, just being like,
Uh-huh.
oh
Yeah. and knowing what that means and like being recoiling from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Which
then,
is funny because I
okay.
remember in that moment thinking he knows stuff about the Aiel that she doesn't, and she knows stuff about her future
Yeah.
that obviously he doesn't, and they're both
Yes.
freaked
Right.
out at each other a little bit, her more than him.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
there's still a level of freak out on both sides for
Yeah.
completely different sets of knowledge, and I just love
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's really great. But then when she gets up and she's like, "What do you mean? Where am I going? I'm going back to the tents." And he's like, "Not without Moraine," which I loved.
Mhm.
I know,
But
I did too.
I
Yeah.
loved. But then
Mhm.
also, she's like, "Whatever, Wetlander," and rolls her eyes. And then on second watch, I was like, "Oh, he liked
Of
that.
course
He
he did.
enjoyed
Yeah.
he enjoyed that, and he kind of got a little kick out. That was like there was a little more flirt to it than I realized."
Look,
Mm.
it hard to get is very, very appealing sometimes. Okay, there's hard to
Sure.
get where you're nasty, and there's hard to get where you're just like, I'm not actually being nasty to you. I am a little horrible to you
Right.
right now, but
Mhm.
Right.
what's that joke? Like, I'm not saying no, I'm saying try harder. Like,
Yeah.
I wish that a lot of
Yeah.
guys didn't think like that, because obviously
Yeah.
when
Mhm.
they think you're
Yeah.
saying try harder, you are actually saying fuck off.
Yeah.
Right.
They actually can't
Yeah.
tell the difference. But when it's genuinely
Mhm.
like I'm being mean because I want you to try harder, it's fucking
Yeah.
brilliant as a guy. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that. So when it actually
Yeah.
is that case, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, we have not even talked about Moraine though. I mean, like,
So who cares about
I
Moraine?
mean,
This
there's
is
so
Rand's
much. I know.
episode. This is Rand's story
It is
now.
Rand's
So.
episode.
Meg, how long
Well,
you got left? I know, Meg, you need to disappear soon.
Just like maybe 5 or something, because I
Okay.
got to drive the girls to mom and dad's because we're having date night tonight and they're having a slumber party over at mom.
Oh,
and
that's
dad's.
right.
So we got to do that and then we got to get
That's
back
so
here.
cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did. Okay, so I will say really quick. I really liked actually the way that they handled the Moraine stuff, which was we saw all these possible futures, but they did not actually spend any time on it.
Mm.
I mean,
Mhm.
not to say that the fucking team didn't spend
team
time
spent
on it at all.
ages
Right.
Ages
these
Oh,
on it,
costumes,
yeah.
Jesus. Yeah.
you know, and
yeah.
the spinny camera, but
From like
yeah.
but
there
it
was a rig from the 70s or something. I
Yes.
fucking love
Yes.
that.
Yes, it's amazing. But I do think that I thought it was beautifully handled. Like we saw all these possible things and that and they started in second watch. I was like, "Oh, they started with things that were like really close to right now."
Mhm.
Like that could be potentially things that would happen based on what
Like her
Maureen
with
knows
Swan
today.
in the fish.
Yeah,
in the
like her
fish
with
pot.
Swan. Yeah, and then
Mhm.
like she's releasing Lan's bond. That's weird and interesting. Like I knew I had seen the picture of her bonding Rand, and then
Yes.
to hear her say, "Do you accept it?" And then
Mhm.
things started to get a little more like crazy and like different, and it
Mhm.
was
I
it
love the
was
way
great.
Rafe described it. Like, we were trying to film all these different scenes and like just had crazy ideas. Be like, hey, have we got 5 minutes? Can we just like throw, Rosamund and Natasha in bed together? Can we just throw like Rosamund
Right.
I
and
know.
Yosha in bed together? Can we just like have a scene here where people, I was just like, this is
Yes.
brilliant.
I
mean,
love it.
and the right way to do it as well. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
And that must have been so fun. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. For
like,
all of
like
them
for the
to
actors.
play.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to just
Mhm.
like be like, okay, sure, we'll do this weird,
Yeah.
crazy thing for 2 minutes. So
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And to build all the costumes that Sharon built for the Dark
Oh
Oh my
EF5.
god,
like,
I know. When he was like, I want the Forsaken 5 for like
yes.
2 seconds on screen, maybe?
Yeah.
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 For,
And
for a
Sharon was
shot.
like, must do.
Yeah, she's like, oh,
Oh,
I'm
I
game.
love her
Yeah,
so
she's
much.
like, I'm
Yeah,
in for
yeah, yeah.
this. And like
Yeah.
Rob Goodwin, who does a lot of the level work, he made so many pieces for that shot, and he was like, he was posting it. I saw today, and he clearly loved it as well. So
It's
yeah.
great. It's great. It's great. People will do it. People love to do. We'll do extra when we love it.
Yeah.
And we love the story.
But her vision stuff was
Um,
brilliant. It was so good. The way it kept flashing around and then going
Yeah.
crazy at the end. So
Yeah.
and then
Can I say?
go for it.
Oh, go ahead,
No,
Meg.
no.
I'm so no, sorry, Rob. Meg, I know you got to go. Can we talk about Sargon
Yes.
and
Calendar.
Calendar for 2 seconds? Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I love it. I love getting rid of the Choden Call. We don't need it. It's too big. It's confusing in the books that there's like, this is Calendar. It's the most powerful sangreal made for a man, except for the Choden Call, which is the most powerful sangreal made for the man. And it's like they double over. We don't need them both. The idea of having, since they decided to make Calendar for a man and then deciding to make something specific to the woman, fine, call it the Sarkinen. I don't care if it's not like exactly what the Sarkinen is. I
Right.
love that it's a sphere because it throws to the Choden Call and
Mhm.
it's soft. And I like a sword has hard edges. Like,
Mhm.
and I think that I think Calendar will look like the Sarkinen. I think it will be whitish like that. I think it will look crystally like that, like a kind of.
Well, it's meant to
I
be
don't.
like
I've
a
never
crystal
imagined
sword,
it as
isn't it?
being. Yeah, and I've never imagined it being like a clear crystal. I've always imagined it being more like a, more
Oh,
like
I
a.
saw clear
like a
crystal
quartzy.
in my brain.
I've always imagined it
I
quartzy.
saw.
They say it's clear. I
To
think
be
they say
honest,
it's clear in the books.
I saw it like the columns are represented. You know, you
Yeah,
can
yeah, yeah,
see
yeah.
through them, but they're like cloudy.
Yeah.
That's kind of
Yeah.
what I saw Calendor to be. Not
Yeah,
like it.
and the Sarkinen has that feel to it,
Yeah.
and I love that she says, you know, there was one made for a man, and in order to keep it from a man pulling it, it's been locked away, you know, surrounded by, it's been kept with war and fear,
War and Fit, yeah.
you know, in a fortress, which mimics Sidene and having to wrestle.
I thought the same
Sidene.
thing. Yes.
And then, but this one, we're trusting to peace and surrender. I'm surrendering it to you. I'm literally doing what needs to be done. It's soft and it's round. I love this being in place of Vor's ter'angreal too, which Rafe confirmed.
Yes.
And I love it, and I'm so excited. And I'm not going to say what that means, just in case David is still listening. But I love it. 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 Great choice.
I agree. I think the only thing left now is to talk about that final scene when they walk out of the desert.
Which I find interesting when Moraine and Rand look at each other and no one else.
And she reaches for him as he's handing her to land. Her hand dangles out to him like she doesn't want to let go of him. Oh, fucking beautiful.
The non-verbal acting between the two of them is
God, it's incredible.
Stunning.
Yes. Yes. And it shortcuts and gets us to the place that we know we need Moraine and Rand to be.
Yeah, for sure.
That isn't, and sorry, David, it's a little bit of a spoiler for book 5, but like where we need to get them in book 5, which she has to do by completely submitting to him in the books, which I've never liked.
Which they've already had that conversation too, where he's like,
not enough.
You haven't done anything to help me or something, or I don't remember what he says. He's like, I've done everything I have done has been to help you. And then he's like, well,
and then
he
says
it's
not
enough.
enough.
It's not enough,
And she can't. Yeah.
And in the books, I like that she's like, she remembers Saidar and she's like, oh, I have to surrender. And I like that, but it's more submission in the books than surrender to me.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is a little more like, I love the way they got there. And I hope that that's where they're going to be when we come out of this episode.
Yeah, I would love that too.
Yep.
But yeah, all the Emmys, that was,
Yes.
I described it as the page on screen, and it was, I just think it's perfect.
It's a great description.
But yeah, it deserves the high ranking it's got. I would like, Meg, I know you're going to dash off. We're just going to wrap things up. So go enjoy date night. And
well, no, I mean, I can stay till the end. I was just trying to like make sure we weren't going for 3 hours.
Oh, right. No, we're not going 3 hours. Okay, so I want to wrap it up. I know we've not really been doing like what are positivities for a while because we've been like trying to focus through things and run out of times. But I kind of have one.
Please
well,
tell
then
us.
let's do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've been reading the reviews on IMDb about this episode. Because it's kind of like twofold. So I was telling this to my friend at work, Sam, and he's describing like season 1 had COVID issues and like casting issues, and then season 2 obviously was during the strikes, so that there was like promotional issues and stuff like that because no one could promote it because everyone's on strike and they're respecting the strikes and things like that. And then this season's come around and there's no COVID, no casting issues, no strike issues, and suddenly it's just like, bam, it's everywhere. And the quality of like consistent work and being able to promote it and all those things, it's making a huge difference, like they're being trusted and, combine that with a season 3, which is when a TV show really hits its stride, typically speaking, like it's really paying off dividends. And he's just like, this is, he was really thrilled. And I was like, do you know what? He was talking about the reviews because I was like, I feel like even Book Cloak's going to love this. And I told him what a Book Cloak was. And that inspired me to go read some reviews on IMDb. And some of them are just regular fans who are loving it, and some of them from Book Cloaks. So this is the first one I found. And it's marked as a spoiler for the show, obviously, but not for the books. So I've been a vocal critic of this live-action adaptation, feeling that the series was too different to the original books, and those differences were a massive disservice to the written story of the Wheel of Time. I still have misgivings about a lot of what's happened over the previous episodes, but I have to give credit where it's due. This episode was incredible and rightly deserves a 10 out of 10. The manner in which they told the history of the Aiel, the set designs, the acting, costumes, and cinematography were all incredible. Very few episodes of any series of any genre are as good as this episode is. As previously noted, I've been a vocal critic on this occasion. I am happy to be proven wrong. And I'm just
wow.
We are winning over the Book Cloaks with this, this episode. And like, just go read the reviews on IMDb, people. Seriously, they are. They had me in tears. Had me in tears.
That's great.
So yeah, I'm really excited. I think this is I don't know. I think
This is where we're gonna explode, hopefully.
I mean, I've been saying that since 2020. I was
Yeah.
like, season 3.
Whether we explode or not, I just want to see the rest of it.
Yeah.
And Amazon has all the money, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
like,
seriously.
just give it to us regardless. They're doing such a beautiful
I have
job
a
of
really
it.
good feeling. I really not, and I don't know anything at all. Like, honestly, people like, I know that sounds like I know something. I don't. I just have a really good feeling that this is going to get to the end of the season, and they are going to be.
I mean, I know we're all biased, but I really do feel like this is their fantasy show, like their best fantasy show.
Amazon.
Yeah.
Yes.
I honestly, if they carry on like this, I don't see why, people will be like Game of Thrones, like made fantasy on TV a thing, but like Wheel of Time, came along and defined what fantasy on television is and should be.
Yeah.
I feel like
There's a lot more magic.
yes, and
And the sci-fi elements too.
yeah,
Like,
it's,
yeah,
it's just so good.
which I'm feeling very good about getting the fins. By the way, I'm very excited
Yes.
So,
to see where that leads. So.
but yeah. Anyway, I think that's it. We've sat here for a good couple hours now. And I'm going to be live in an hour and 15 minutes again ish.
Yeah, you need to get going.
Oh my
So-
gosh. That's right. Yeah.
So talking about it again for more hours because why not?
Why not?
But yeah, I'm super excited. I'm excited for next week as well, episode 5. We get back to see all the others because obviously we didn't see anyone else in this episode.
know.
So yeah.
Did you guys look at the trailer for next week or no?
No, don't watch those things. Not
Okay.
during the season.
Never mind.
So I'll watch them in advance, but I don't watch them during. I
I'll
never
just
watch them
keep
during the
quiet.
season. I like to avoid all of that during the week, and then I get to the episode completely unknowing and fresh, and I like doing that.
I can't help myself.
So I'll go back and watch like behind the scenes things and stuff later on. But yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been
Yeah.
avoiding those. All right, folks. Thank you for listening. Hope you've enjoyed. As I say, if you want to come and listen to us live, which a few people have done this occasion. Thank you, Sharon and David. And there's apparently a third person listening who has not commented in chat. So unless one of them has logged in twice, which is always possible.
Possible.
You never know.
Definitely possible.
Then join the Patreon. Oh, we got a new patron actually. Robert R.
Ooh.
So shout out to Robert R. who has joined,
Thank you, Robert R.
who has not come and joined us here, but obviously he's just joined to support and such.
Yeah.
So
Fantastic.
totally forgot to do the shout out. So there's your shout out. Thank you. But yeah, you can join that. The link for that is in the description. But otherwise, just rate us. Give us those 5 or 10 stars or whatever the rating is on your podcast app of choice.
Help
Help
us
us.
other people.
Yeah, share us out there. There are people that have started to listen now and are just like, oh my god, I love this podcast. You guys are, so funny together and such. And that's those two. It's not me, people.
No.
You two sounded exactly the same. You said
Yeah, we
that.
did. Yeah, we
I
did.
was like, wow, did I hear an
Yeah.
echo? Was that two
Yeah.
of them? Oh, it's Ashikova.
Hi,
Ashikova's for listening.
Ashikova.
Just put a comment in live chat. Hey, Ashikova.
Oh, there's chat. There's chat.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. You didn't miss such.
No.
Yeah, nobody chatted much, but next time.
Next time. But yeah, and if you're listening to this on the YouTube video, like and subscribe there. Just come and hang out with us. You can follow the show on social media, which is malkittalks.3wheeling.com. That's on Blue Sky. Or you can follow us on Instagram, where you get to see the awesome cocktails and things like that. And you will find that at 3.wheeling on Instagram. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's it. So we will see you next week, which is weird now because I saw you last week and I see you this week and
I
today.
know, I love it.
And I'll see you again next week, where
Yay.
we do episode 5, and we see what everyone else has been up to while Rand and Moraine were just chilling out with their mushroom devices
Their
in the desert. Yeah. So,
Yes.
bye everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Once again, we've proven that even when you're the third wheel,
You can always find a place to fit in
Join us next time
on 3 Wheeling.
on 3 wheeling.
on Free Wheeling.